Chapter 104. 10 days ago, Wei Hongtao had gone to the Grand Tan family to find the first young master of the Tan family, Tan Ji, because he was suspicious that Shiryu had not attended the gathering of the Grand Scions that day. At first, Tan Ji had avoided the topic, but later he had revealed a piece of information to him. Shiryu did not dare to provoke the youth by Yang Zixi side. At that moment, he was completely certain. First young lady Ren Jiape had not lied to him. Because of this, hearing the words of this group of scions, he looked at them as if they were idiots, and felt a sense of intellectual superiority. Yang Zixi. Among the group of scions, a gorgeously dressed young lady stepped forward. It was the third young lady of the Zheng family, Zheng Qiuhe. She had looked around earlier, and the first young lady of the Ren family, Ren Jiape, was not around. Thinking of how Ren Jiape had stood up for Yang Zixi at the Wei family mansion that day, she felt a surge of anger rush to her head. Ren Jiape was not around, and she was not worried that someone would protect Yang Zixi. Although Shiryu was around, Yang Zixi had brought a man with him, and given Shiryu's temper, he would not help Yang Zixi. So she stepped forward and looked at Yang Zixi with a mocking smile. "How did you get in? Today, the Tang family has invited all the grand and above families of the Chu royal city. I am very curious, how did someone like you, who was expelled from the Yang family, manage to sneak in?" From beginning to end, Zheng Qiuhe did not even glance at the youth beside Yang Zixi. In her opinion, in the country of Yunyang, a person with the surname Zhou could not possibly have any background. At most, he would be a scion of a preeminent family. Such a person was not worthy of Zheng Qiuhe's attention. Zheng Qiuhe. The young lady glanced at Zheng Qiuhe. "I, Yang Zixi, have never offended you before? That day at the Wei family mansion, you were overbearing, and now at the Tang family mansion, you are still overbearing. Do you really think that I, Yang Zixi, am a pushover?" As she spoke, the young lady's beautiful cheeks could not help but show signs of anger. In the past, she had treated Zheng Qiuhe like a sister, giving her a lot without asking for anything in return. It was one thing that Zheng Qiuhe hadn't given her anything in return, but now that she was being kicked out of the Yang clan, she kept hitting her when she was down. No matter how good-tempered she was, she couldn't hold back her anger. "TSK, our Miss Zixi seems to be angry." Accompanied by a mocking laughter, another girl who was about the same age as Zheng Qiuhe stood up from another round table and slowly walked over. "No. I almost forgot. You, Yang Zixi, have already been expelled from the Yang family. You are no longer a member of the Yang family." The young woman wore an orange dress, and her appearance could be considered delicate and pretty. However, at this moment, she had a mocking smile on her face, and her eyes were filled with schadenfreude. "Xiatingting." Yang Zixi's already angry face darkened slightly. "I seem to have treated you well in the past, right? So what?" Xiatingting sneered and took a few steps forward to Yang Zixi's side. She whispered into Yang Zixi's ear, "If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for having a vixen face." Xiatingting's tone was filled with jealousy as she said this. "Yang Zixi, I advise you to leave as soon as possible before most of the guests have taken their seats. When the Tang clan's guest arrives and the banquet begins, you'll have nowhere to hide. At that time, being chased out by the Tang clan will be much more humiliating than leaving now." Another young woman stood up and said gloatingly. When she looked at Yang Zixi, her eyes were also filled with jealousy. "He Lin." Seeing this young woman, Yang Zixi's expression darkened even more. Zheng Qiuhe and Xiatingting were still all right. Although she had helped them, it was only a small favor, but this He Lin, she had once helped her greatly. And now, this He Lin was also standing up to kick her when she was down. Previously at the Wei family mansion, Xiatingting and He Lin had ignored her, but she did not think much of it. She really did not care if they did not reciprocate her kindness. But she had treated them well, and they had still come to kick her when she was down. She really could not stand it. Zishi, they're just 3 clowns, why take them so seriously? Zhou Donghuang, who had been standing beside the young girl, had not spoken all this while. Sensing the young girl's anger, he glanced at Zheng Qiuhe and the other 2 girls and said calmly. Zhou Donghuang's words were like poking a hornet's nest, causing Zheng Qiuhe and the other 2 women's expressions to change. They all glared at Zhou Donghuang coldly. Zhou Donghuang, do you really think that just because you have some martial talent, you can challenge the grand families? Xiaofan asked coldly. Zhou Donghuang, the Tang family has set up a banquet today, and only the grand families and above have been invited. As far as I know, there is no grand family with the surname Zhou in the Chu royal city. Looks like you've snuck in just like Yang Zishi. Zheng Qiuhe smiled mockingly. You too, just you wait. He Lin glanced coldly at Zhou Donghuang, then turned and walked hurriedly towards the 2 people who were conversing nearby. Chief, he is chatting with the 10th elder of the Tang family. He Lin is probably going over now to report to the 10th elder of the Tang family that someone has snuck into the Tang family. One of the scions of the grand family's guest. Who would have thought that before the banquet starts, there would be such a show to watch? Many of the scions of the grand clans looked like they were watching a good show. They looked with interest at the young man and lady who stood not far away like they were a match made in heaven. Chief Zhang, your son Zhang Yongshan's arm was maimed by this young man? Now that he's right in front of you, aren't you going to avenge your son? Another grand elder beside the chief of the grand Zhang family could not help but ask after hearing the whispers of the young man beside him. Avenge? The chief of the Zhang family was a skinny middle-aged man, and after hearing the words of the old man beside him, he shook his head and laughed self-deprecatingly. That day, when his son Zhang Yongshan had been sent back, he had been furious, and the first thing he had wanted to do was seek revenge. However, before he had even left the Zhang family mansion, he had met someone from the Shi family. The first young master of the Shi family, Shiyu, had sent someone to remind him not to provoke the young man who had maimed his son, on account of the fact that his son had been injured because of him, because even the Shi family could not afford to offend that young man. The Shi family was a tycoon family, and although it was only a lowly tycoon family, it was not something that the Zhang family could compare to. Naturally, the Zhang family could not afford to offend someone that even the Shi family could not afford to offend. Therefore, he had given up on the idea of revenge. Even now, seeing the girls of the Zheng, Xia, and He families clash with the young man, he could not help but mourn for them in his heart. In his opinion, since someone that even the Shi family could not afford to offend had appeared at the Tang family's banquet, he must have been invited by the Tang family and could not have snuck in. Luckily, he did not hold it against me the last time, otherwise, even if I were killed by him, I would have died in vain. Tan Li, the 3rd young master of the Grand Tan family, was sitting beside his father, the chief of the Tan family, looking fearfully at the young man in white standing not far away. That day, when he had returned to the Tan family mansion, he had found out who he had provoked. That person was someone that even his cousin Shiyu's tycoon Shi family could not afford to offend. Although Zhou Donghuang had caused quite a commotion, because of the distance and the commotion in the front yard of the Tang family mansion, the Tang family chief, Tang Liuyan, and the other 2 who knew Zhou Donghuang had not yet noticed the commotion. If the 3 of them had noticed the commotion, they would definitely have seen Zhou Donghuang and come up immediately. After all, the main character today, the benefactor of the Tang family, was Zhou Donghuang. Big brother Zhou, although He Lin's father is only the chief of a grand family, he is very close to the 10th elder of the Tang family. Will this commotion of hers affect you? The young girl asked Zhou Donghuang softly. Yang Zishi did not know that the main character today at the Tang family banquet was her big brother Zhou. She only thought that her big brother Zhou had received an invitation from the Tang family to join in the fun, just like Renjiape, who had brought them to the Wei family mansion 10 days ago. However, although her voice was very soft, Zheng Qiuhe and Xiaofan were standing not far away, so they heard her clearly. For a moment, the corners of their mouths curled into a mocking smile. When the 10th elder of the Tang family arrives, I'll see how you deal with this. The mocking smile on Xia Tingting's face deepened. Don't even think of leaving now. Even if you leave, the 10th elder of the Tang family will still capture you in a fit of rage. Zheng Qiuhe threatened. At the same time, He Lin returned, and beside her were two middle-aged men. One of the middle-aged men looked somewhat similar to He Lin, and it was obvious that he had a close relationship with He Lin. He was obviously the chief of the Grand He family, He Wui. The other middle-aged man, dressed in a blue robe and of medium build, walked over with He Lin angrily. Uncle Zhanpeng, it's them. After He Lin returned, she first looked at Zhou Donghuang and Yang Zishi arrogantly, then turned to the middle-aged man in the blue robe beside her. Do you have an invitation? Tang Zhanpeng asked in a suppressed voice as he glanced coldly at Zhou Donghuang and He Wui, clearly suppressing his anger. Without an invitation, how can I enter? Zhou Donghuang looked back at him and asked in return. From what you say, you have an invitation? Tang Zhanpeng's eyes narrowed, and he smiled coldly. Our Tang family banquet tonight is only open to the grand families of the Chu royal city and above. I wonder which family you are from. Tang Zhanpeng's eyes narrowed, and a cold light flashed across them. Although he had just returned to the Tang family that evening, he knew that apart from their benefactor, only the grand families of the Chu royal city and above had been invited to this banquet. And the youth before him, whose surname was Zhou, could not possibly be from any of the grand families of the Chu royal city and above. Besides, he had heard from the third elder of the Tang family that their benefactor would either not be coming, or would definitely attend the banquet personally, so it was impossible that the youth before him would represent him at the banquet. Considering all these factors, he concluded that the youth before him could not possibly have an invitation. Even if he did, it would be a forgery. Chapter 105. Faced with Tang Zhanpeng's question, Zhou Donghuang glanced at him and said, I am not from any family. His tone was calm and unhurried. Just as Tang Zhanpeng heard Zhou Donghuang's words, he opened his eyes abruptly. The young girl standing beside Zhou Donghuang spoke again, Elder Tang, although my big brother Zhou is not from any grand family in the Chu royal city, he indeed has an invitation. Otherwise, we would not have been able to enter. As the young girl spoke, Tang Zhanpeng looked at Zhou Donghuang with a mocking smile. Is that so? So you have forged an invitation from the Tang family? As he spoke, the corners of Tang Zhanpeng's mouth curled into a sneer. The cold light in his eyes became even sharper at this moment. Forged an invitation from the Tang family? Following Tang Zhanpeng's words, the surrounding grand family youths once again looked at Zhou Donghuang, and they could not help but reveal looks of pity and schadenfreude. If he had just snuck into the Tang family, he would at most be chased out, but if he forged an invitation from the Tang family, that is no small matter. What is this young man thinking? Could it be that he forged an invitation to bring Yang Zishi to the Tang family banquet just to show off in front of Yang Zishi? Femme fatale, the ancients did not lie. The whispers of a group of scions from the grand clans entered the young lady's ears, causing her expression to turn ugly. The next moment, the young girl looked at Tang Zhanpeng with determination. Elder Tang, my big brother Zhou would never forge an invitation. As she spoke, the young girl looked at Zhou Donghuang and said urgently, Big brother Zhou, tell Elder Tang who gave you this invitation. Humph. Before Zhou Donghuang could speak, Tang Zhanpeng snorted. The patriarch of the Tang family has ordered that no one is to give invitations to anyone other than the grand families of the Chu royal city and above. That is to say, everyone here today, besides the benefactor of the Tang family, is from the grand families and above. Are you trying to tell me that you are here on behalf of the benefactor of the Tang family? Tang Zhanpeng asked as he looked at Zhou Donghuang. No. Zhou Donghuang said casually, his tone lazy and his gaze calm. From the beginning to the end, Zhou Donghuang did not reveal the panic that Tang Zhanpeng had expected. Without waiting for Tang Zhanpeng to speak, Zhou Donghuang's eyes narrowed and he suddenly said, "Tang Liunian, is this how the Tang family treats its guests?" Zhou Donghuang's voice was cold as he suddenly raised his voice, completely drowning out the commotion in the front yard of the Tang family mansion. "Tang Liunian?" Zhou Donghuang's words stunned the crowd of Grand Family disciples, before they realized. Tang Liunian was the name of today's host, the patriarch of the Tycoon Tang family. Surnamed Zhou, not only did you forge the Tang family's invitation, but you also dare to call the Tang family's patriarch by his name. Do you want to die? He Lin said coldly with a gloating look in her eyes. However, upon hearing Zhou Donghuang's sudden raise of his voice, He Wui's expression, which was different from He Lin's, became serious. Even Tang Zhanpeng's expression couldn't help but change slightly as an ominous premonition rose in his heart. Indeed. Whether it was the first young master of the Grand Wei family, Wei Hongtao, the third young master of the Grand Tan family, Tan Li, or the patriarch of the Grand Zhang family, none of them had thought that Zhou Donghuang had forged an invitation to enter. Now, seeing Zhou Donghuang call the Tycoon Tang family's patriarch by his name, not only without any courtesy, but with a cold tone, they immediately realized that they had guessed correctly. As the youth's voice drowned out the commotion in the front yard of the Tang family mansion, the entire front yard became extremely quiet as everyone's gaze fell upon the youth. Previously, the youth had only attracted the attention of a group of Grand Family disciples. Now, even the gazes of a group of tycoon aristocratic families had landed on him. Who is this youth? How dare he call the Tang family's patriarch by his name? Many of the Tycoon family disciples looked at the youth in white standing in the distance in surprise, and at the same time, they could not help but speculate about his identity. It's him. Just then, the first young master of the Tycoon Shi family, Shi Yu, turned his head and finally noticed Zhou Donghuang, and his expression changed instantly. Xiao Yu, he is that Zhou Donghuang? Noticing Shi Yu's expression, the second master of the Shi family, Shi Yan, who was sitting at the side, seemed to have guessed something and asked with a serious expression. That's him. Shi Yu nodded with a dark expression. Young Master Donghuang? At the same time, as the host, the patriarch of the Tang family, Tang Liunian, also knew from Zhou Donghuang's voice that Zhou Donghuang had arrived, and his eyes lit up. But then, thinking of Zhou Donghuang's cold tone and impolite words, his expression changed. 3 elders, the benefactor of the Tang family is here, now, I'll take my leave for a while. After hurriedly greeting the elders sent by the 3 elite tycoon families, Tang Liunian did not wait for their reply before hurrying off in the direction of the youth. The head elder of the Tang family, Tang Yusen, and the second elder, Tang Yong, also greeted the people they were talking to and followed Tang Liunian. In the quiet front courtyard of the Tang family mansion, only the rapid footsteps of Tang Liunian and the 2 elders could be heard. Under the gaze of the crowd, the 3 of them came to the youth who had called Tang Liunian by his name, and under the shocked and incredulous gazes of the crowd, they bowed 90 degrees to the youth. Young Master Donghuang. Their voices were filled with respect from the bottom of their hearts. Swish. 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 At this moment, the expression of the 10th elder of the Tang family, Tang Zhanpeng, the patriarch of the He family, He Wui, as well as He Lin, Xietingting, and Zheng Qiuhe. Especially Zheng Qiuhe, seeing the scene before her, could not help but take a step back. When she looked at the youth again, she could not help but shake her head and scream in her heart, "No, impossible, impossible, it can't be him." Today, before coming to the Tang family mansion, Zheng Qiuhe had dressed up for a long time. And the reason why she had spent so much effort dressing up was to get to know the youth that the Tang family had invited to the banquet. Although he did not know who the young man was, based on his strength, it was not difficult to judge that the young man's background was definitely not simple, and it was very likely that he was above the valley of the medicine masters. If she, Zheng Qiuhe, could fall in love with such a youth, just as her father, Zheng Donglai, had said, the Zheng family's meteoric rise would be just around the corner. And she, Zheng Qiuhe, would also fly up the branches and become a phoenix. In the future, even the emperor of the country of Yunyang would have to be respectful in front of her. However, Zheng Qiuhe would never have thought that. The youth invited by the Tang family was someone he had met long ago, and he was also someone close to Yang Zishi. At this time, no matter how slow Zheng Qiuhe's reaction was, she could still tell that this youth surnamed Zhou beside Yang Zishi was the youth that the Tang family had set up for today's banquet with great fanfare. She didn't dare to believe it, nor did she want to believe it, but she had no choice but to believe it. The performance of the 3 big shots of the Tang clan was enough to explain everything. What's going on? Isn't this young man someone with no status? Tang Liuyan, head elder Tang Yusen, and second elder Tang Yong of the Tang family are all bowing to him so respectfully? Who is he exactly? Such a person forged an invitation and snuck into the Tang family? Is the 10th elder of the Tang family joking? The scene before them caused the group of grand family members nearby to be stunned. The way they looked at the youth was completely different. Previously, they had looked at this youth in white with disdain, but now, no one dared to look down on him. What a joke! Did they not see the 3 big shots of the Tang family bowing respectfully to this youth? Tang Liuyan, who had been wondering why the youth was so angry, heard the words of the surrounding grand family members, and his eyes narrowed, his expression changing. 10th elder, what's going on? Tang Liuyan looked at Tang Zhanpeng and asked coldly. His tone was so cold that it seemed to cause the temperature of the entire Tang family residence to drop by a few degrees, sending chills down one's spine. When Tang Liuyan and the other 2 came over and bowed respectfully to the youth, Tang Zhanpeng knew that he had kicked a metal plate, and his face turned pale. Now, seeing the Tang family patriarch look over with a dark expression, he immediately pointed to He Lin beside him. Patriarch, it was she who told me that young Master Zhou snuck in without an invitation. At this moment, Tang Zhanpeng only wanted to shirk all responsibility. Based on the current situation, the responsibility for this matter was not something he, a mere 10th elder of the Tang family, could bear. As for He Lin, seeing that Tang Zhanpeng was pushing the blame onto her, her expression changed completely. Uncle Zhanpeng, I did tell you that he might have snuck in without an invitation. But I did not say that he forged an invitation. Just now, from start to finish, you were the one who said that he forged an invitation to enter. At this point, in her extreme shock, He Lin immediately came to her senses. She could naturally see that Tang Zhanpeng was trying to push the blame onto her. It was not a big deal to bear most of the responsibility in order to curry favor with Tang Zhanpeng. But she did not dare to bear this responsibility. Who are you? Just as Tang Zhanpeng was looking at He Lin with a dark expression, wishing that he could slap her to death, Tang Liuyan looked at He Lin with a slight frown. Clearly, he did not recognize her. Tang family patriarch, this is my daughter, He Lin. Beside He Lin, the patriarch of the Grand He family, He Wui, who was already drenched in cold sweat, stood up and bowed respectfully to Tang Liuyan. And who are you? Tang Liuyan's frown deepened. Chapter 106. As the chief of a tycoon family, the grand family chiefs that Tang Liuyan usually came into contact with were basically all the chiefs of the elite grand families. He Wui was only the chief of a low-level grand family, and even if Tang Liuyan had met him on some occasions, he would not have any impression of him. Although Tang Liuyan did not recognize him, He Wui did not dare to show any displeasure. He forced a smile and said respectfully, Chief Tang, I am the chief of the Grand He family, He Wui. Chief of the He family? Tang Liuyan's gaze turned cold as he said in a low voice, Take your men and get out of my Tang family mansion. From today onwards, the Tang family will cease all cooperation with the He family. Any family that cooperates with the He family, from today onwards, the Tang family will no longer cooperate with them. At this point, Tang Liuyan turned his head slightly, his gaze sweeping across the entire front yard of the Tang family residence as he spoke loudly. He did not know if the Tang family had any cooperation with the He family. But he was sure of one thing: among the families that cooperated with the Tang family, there would definitely be families that cooperated with the He family. Just as Tang Liunian finished speaking, the entire front yard was filled with the sound of people inhaling sharply, and many of them could not help but sigh. The He family is finished. Where did this young man come from? The three most powerful people in the Tang family are all so respectful to him. Could he be someone sent by the benefactor of the Tang family to attend the banquet? Just now, the 10th elder of the Tang family, Tang Zhanpeng, asked him that, but he denied it. Then who is he? In the country of Yunyang, there is no grand family with the surname Zhou, right? Could he be from the Valley of Medicine Masters? The crowd of grand and tycoon families knew that the He family was finished when they heard Tang Liunian's words. Some of the families that cooperated with the He family had already decided to stop all cooperation with the He family when they returned. He Wui was stunned. He Lin was dumbfounded. They would never have dreamed that the chief of the Tang family, Tang Liunian, would actually blacklist the Wang family just to stand up for this young man. It was certain, today, if Tang Liunian's word spread, the Wang family's businesses in the Chu royal city would most likely be destroyed. Smack! A crisp slap sounded. After He Wui came back to his senses, he raised his hand and gave his daughter, He Lin, a heavy slap. He Lin was completely stunned by the slap. When her head was slapped askew, she subconsciously opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood mixed with a lot of broken teeth. He Wui's ruthlessness could be seen. Wicked girl, why aren't you kneeling down and kowtowing to young Master Dong Huang in apology? He Wui cursed. He seemed to be furious, but his heart was filled with bitterness and helplessness because he had no choice but to save the He clan. He Lin was not stupid, and naturally knew why her father, who had always doted on her, was doing this. Gritting her teeth and enduring the pain, she took 2 steps forward and knelt before Zhou Donghuang, begging for mercy. Young Master Donghuang, I was blind, please spare me. I beg you. Please. However, Zhou Donghuang did not even look at her. Seeing this, He Lin kowtowed to the young girl beside Zhou Donghuang. Sister Zishi, it's all my fault. I should not have been jealous of you, I should not have hit you when you're down. I was wrong, I really know I was wrong. Please help me plead with young Master Donghuang to let the He clan off. I beg you. Please. He Lin kowtowed continuously to the young girl, and even when her head was bleeding, she continued to kowtow. She knew that one word from the young girl could save the He clan. When had the young girl ever seen such a scene? In the blink of an eye, a look of pity appeared on her face. At the same time, she subconsciously looked at the youth beside her. Zishi, some people can be so nice to you when you're in power, but when you're down, they can't wait to step on you. Before the young girl could speak, Zhou Donghuang said coldly, some people can be so kind to you when you're in power, but when you're down, they can't wait to step on you. In his previous life, he had roamed the universe for 1,000 years, and he had seen too many people like He Lin. For someone like her, even if young Zishi helped her today, she would not be grateful. Hearing this, the young girl's eyes flashed, and she nodded seriously. Brother Zhou, I understand. With that, no matter how much He Lin kowtowed and begged for mercy, the young girl did not look at He Lin again. This was because she believed in her big brother Zhou. Since her big brother Zhou said so, then her big brother Zhou must have his reasons. Get out! Tang Liunian looked at He Lin with disgust, then glared at He Wui and shouted. Immediately, He Wui paled in fear, and he hurriedly pulled He Lin away from the front yard of the Tang family household, not daring to stay any longer. After the He family father and daughter left, Tang Liunian looked at the 10th elder of the Tang family, Tang Zhanpeng, and said to the 2nd elder of the Tang family, Tang Yong, 2nd elder, he is from your branch, you deal with him. Tang Zhanpeng was a direct descendant of Tang Yong's branch, and in terms of seniority, he called Tang Yong uncle. Yes, Patriarch. Tang Yong responded, and his eyes flashed with determination. He stepped forward, and under Tang Zhanpeng's despairing gaze, he struck out with his palm, killing Tang Zhanpeng instantly. From beginning to end, Tang Zhanpeng did not even have the time to beg for mercy before he died at Tang Yong's hands. Boom! Tang Zhanpeng's body crashed to the ground, his eyes still wide open. Perhaps, even in death, he had not expected that his careless mistake would result in him bearing such consequences. Following Tang Zhanpeng's death, the entire place fell silent. Although the patriarch of the Tang family, Tang Liuyan, had stood up for the youth in front of the He family father and daughter, and they had already realized how important the youth was to Tang Liuyan. But they had not expected that the 10th elder of the Tang family, Tang Zhanpeng, would be killed by the 2nd elder of the Tang family, Tang Yong, just because he had offended this youth. This was the 10th elder of the Tang family, a level 6 adept of Qi gathering. In any other family, he could support a grand family. And such a person had been executed by the Tang family because he had offended the youth in white before them. This youth, what kind of person is he? Now, even the 3 elders from the 3 elite tycoon families of the Chu royal city were looking at the white figure in the distance in shock. They knew very well, even if Tang Zhanpeng had offended any one of them, the Tang family would definitely not execute Tang Zhanpeng. At most, they would punish him symbolically in front of them. The youth was dressed in robes whiter than snow, his features handsome, and his aura outstanding. Even though the Tang family had executed the 10th elder Tang Zhanpeng right in front of him, his expression was calm and unperturbed. The young girl stood beside Zhou Donghuang, looking at the dead Tang Zhanpeng on the ground, her eyes filled with shock. This was the 10th elder of the Tang family. The Tang family had killed him just to avenge her big brother Zhou. It looks like the benefactor of the Tang family's banquet today is big brother Zhou. Now, the young girl had already guessed this. Thump. Thump. Before the crowd could recover from Tang Zhanpeng's death, Zheng Qiuhe, the 3rd daughter of the Grand Jing family, and Xie Tingting, the 2nd daughter of the Grand Xie family, were all so frightened that their legs gave way and they sat on the ground. Zheng Qiuhe and Xie Tingting would never have imagined that the young man beside Yang Zishi, whom they had joined hands with He Lin to kick him when he was down, would have such an identity. I'm afraid the Zheng and Xie families are in for it. Many of the scions of the grand families shook their heads as they looked at Zheng Qiuhe and Xie Tingting on the ground, but there were also many who were gloating. Many of them could not stand the actions of Zheng Qiuhe and Xie Tingting. Previously, whether it was the patriarch of the Grand Jing family, Zheng Donglai, or the patriarch of the Grand Xie family, Xie Yixuan, they had been currying favor with the patriarchs of the tycoon families and had not noticed what had happened. Now that they had returned and witnessed the fate of the He family, they felt that the He family was unlucky to have offended such a troublemaker. But they had never imagined that their daughters would have offended this pair of youths together with He Lin. As the whispers of the scions of the grand families reached their ears, their expressions changed, and their eyes filled with fear and panic. The Zheng family? The Xie family? Tang Liuyan looked coldly at the 2 pale girls on the ground. From now on, the Tang family, as well as the families that work with the Tang family, will no longer work with the Zheng and Xie families. Now, get lost. Before Zheng Donglai and Xie Yixuan could speak, Tang Liuyan had already ordered them to leave. Having learned their lesson from the He family, the 2 of them did not linger too much because they knew it was useless. They hurriedly supported their daughter and left the front yard of the Tang family's mansion. They walked towards the main gate, leaving behind only the backs of their hurried figures for the crowd. They knew that from now on, the Zheng and Xie families would be ostracized by the big families of the Chu royal city, just like the He family. The elite tycoon families of the Chu royal city, and even the Chu royal household, could ignore Tang Liuyan's words, but such families would never work with them. As for the families that were willing to work with them, they did not dare to disobey Tang Liuyan, the patriarch of the elite tycoon Tang family. When Zheng Qiuhe and Xie Tingting were taken away, they were still in a daze, and even pinched their faces in disbelief to make sure that they were not dreaming. But every time they felt a sharp pain, it reminded them that they were not dreaming, and that everything was real. Especially Zheng Qiuhe, whose face was full of despair and regret. Chapter 107. In the front yard of the Tang family household. At this moment, the handsome young man in clothes that were whiter than snow and possessed an extraordinary bearing had undoubtedly become the focus of everyone's attention. "Young Master Dong Huang, Lady Zixi, please." The patriarch of the Tang family, Tang Liuyan, bowed to Zhou Dong Huang and Yang Zixi and personally led the way to the east side of the front yard, where the main table for the banquet was. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Tang Liuyan respectfully led Zhou Dong Huang to the main seat at the main table. Even the three elders of the top three families of the Chu royal city who had come today did not sit in that seat, only sitting in the lower position. Seeing this, many of the grand and tycoon families present could not help but exclaim, even if the king of the Chu royal family came personally, he would not be treated like this, right? At the same time, in the west side of the front yard of the Tang family household, in front of a round table. "Chief Yang, your Yang family has produced a golden phoenix." A fat middle-aged man dressed in luxurious embroidered clothes sat at a table. He narrowed his small eyes as he looked at the other middle-aged man sitting at the opposite side of the table and said with a smile. This middle-aged man who was addressed as Chief Yang was none other than the chief of the Grand Yang family, Yang Yunji. He was also Yang Zixi's uncle. However, although the middle-aged fatty was smiling and talking to Yang Yunji, his small eyes on his fat face were filled with schadenfreude. The Yang family had indeed produced a golden phoenix. But that golden phoenix had been pushed out the door by the chief of the Yang family, Yang Yunji. As the fat middle-aged man spoke, the other people at the table looked at Yang Yunji with a strange expression, but more of a schadenfreude. As all the chiefs of the inferior grand families, if possible, they naturally did not wish for one of them to suddenly rise up and suppress them. Sensing the gazes of the others at the table, even though Yang Yunji tried to control his emotions, his face was still dark. Taking in a deep breath, Yang Yunji turned a deaf ear to the fat middle-aged man's words. However, his gaze could not help but land on the eastern side of the main table. A beautiful young lady who looked like she had come out of a painting was sitting beside the young man. Even Tang Liuyan, the patriarch of the tycoon Tang family, whom he had to look up to, was very respectful towards her. If I had not chased Zixi out of the Yang family, if Zixi was still in the Yang family, thinking of this, Yang Yunji let out a long sigh in his heart. He seemed to have aged a few years in that instant. A few months ago, for the sake of his own interests, for the sake of the family, he indirectly caused the death of his own brother, and then expelled his niece from the Yang family. Later on, the young man by his niece's side had barged into the Shi family, injured the Shi family head Shi Ji, and killed the Shi family head Shi Hao. He was awe-inspiring and insufferably arrogant. At that time, he regretted it. Later on, due to the death of their patriarch, Shi Hao, the Shi family vented their anger on him and no longer supported the Yang family, causing the Yang family to return to its original state. At that moment, he was even more regretful. After doing so many things and paying such a huge price, in the end, it was all for naught. Head elder, is he the young man by Yang Zixi's side that Jiape mentioned, Zhou Donghuang? Chief Tian Xing of the Ren family asked in a low voice as he looked at Ren Qiong, the head elder of the Ren family. Back then, his daughter had told him that this young man had barged into the Shi family and not only defeated the Shi family head Shi Ji, but had also killed the Shi family head Shi Hao. But he did not believe it at all. After all, a young man of about 16 or 17 years of age, even if he was a disciple of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, could not possibly have such power. But today, seeing the scene before him, and thinking of what his daughter Ren Jiape had said to him, he vaguely realized that it might not be nonsense. It's him. Just then, Ren Qiong, the head elder of the Ren family, finally regained his composure, and his lips curled into a bitter smile. Before they left the Ren family, I met him once. Now that I think about it, First Mistress reminded me that I would regret chasing them away. At that time, I only thought that First Mistress was just trying to scare me, but now it seems that she was not lying. And now, Ren Qiong truly regretted it. If he had not chased the young man and girl out of the Ren family, even if the young man had not joined the Ren family, he would have been of immeasurable help to the Ren family. That girl also reminded me, but I did not take it seriously. Ren Tianqing shook his head with a bitter smile. He knew that after today, there would be many people who would try to curry favor with the young man before him. In front of some of these people, he, the chief of the mid-level Grand Ren family, was nothing. Now we can confirm that the benefactor that the Tang family held this banquet to thank is this Zhou Donghuang. The second master of the Shi family, Shi Yan, said to the first master of the Shi family, Shi Yu, with a serious expression, looks like he really is a level 9 adept. Although Zhou Donghuang had defeated his father, the previous chief of the Shi family, Shi Ji. But after that incident, they could not be sure that Zhou Donghuang was definitely a level 9 adept, and they felt that Zhou Donghuang could be one of the best among the level 8 adepts. And today, realizing that Zhou Donghuang was the benefactor of the 3 Tang family members when they were attacked by a level 9 grizzly bear demon, Shi Yan was almost certain that this Zhou Donghuang was a level 9 adept. A level 9 adept, Shi Yu's mouth was full of bitterness. Whether Zhou Donghuang was a level 8 adept or a level 9 adept, the Shi family would not be able to avenge his father's death. But now that he knew that Zhou Donghuang was a level 9 adept, his heart was filled with despair. Who is he? How can someone from a small place have such a level of practice at such a young age? Shi Yu's eyes flashed with uncertainty. When the people I sent to Yunfeng Prefecture return, we will know if he is a native of Yunfeng Prefecture. If he really has no background, with his achievements at such a young age, he must have a big secret on him. Perhaps, he accidentally obtained some treasure that allowed him to have such power at such a young age. A Khanate stage adept should not have the ability to leave behind such a treasure, but, according to the legends, a primal core adept might be able to leave behind such a treasure. Thinking of this, Shi Yu's eyes flashed. Of course, even if he has such a treasure, I, and even the Shi family, do not have the ability to snatch it away. We can only get someone else to do the dirty work. No matter what, it is impossible for me and the Shi family to obtain the treasure in his hands. Since that is the case, why not help him spread the news after confirming that he has the treasure? The Chu royal family, and even the imperial court of Yunyang country, will definitely be interested in the treasure in his hands. At this thought, Shi Yu's eyes were filled with passion. Shi Yu had never let go of his father's death, so a few months ago, he had already sent people to the inferior-level Yunfeng Prefecture to investigate the young man's background. In the front yard of the Tang family household, at the main table on the east side. 3 elders, this young master Donghuang is the benefactor who killed the grizzly bear in the Lost Forest 10 days ago and saved the 3 of us. Not long after the young man sat down, Tang Liuyan introduced him to the 3 elders at the same table. As he spoke, his eyes flashed, and he added, young master Donghuang single-handedly killed the grizzly bear at its peak with a single blow. If Tang Liuyan's earlier words were said to have already shocked the 3 elders. After all, teaming up with Tang Liuyan and the other 2 to repel the grizzly bear and killing it were 2 completely different concepts. However, Tang Liuyan's next words caused the 3 elders to tremble. They looked at each other and saw the disbelief in each other's eyes. Single-handedly killed the grizzly bear at its peak with a single blow? This young man? Just as the 3 old men were still in shock, Tang Liuyan introduced them to the young man. The 3rd elder of the Ouyang family, Ouyang Zhen. The 2nd elder of the Lu family, Lu Xuyang. The 4th elder of the Lu family, Lu Zhongan. The Ouyang family, the Lu family, and the Lu family were the 3 most powerful families in the Chu royal city below the Chu royal household, the 3 elite tycoon families. And the 3 elders were all level 9 adepts who were no weaker than Tang Liuyan. Chief Tang, is what you said true? The third elder of the Ouyang family, Ouyang Zhen, was the first to recover and asked with a serious expression. The other two elders looked at the young man in shock, obviously doubting Tang Liunian's words. Young master. Suddenly, an anxious voice rang out from the entrance of the front yard. The voice was so loud that it drowned out all the noise in the front yard and attracted everyone's attention. Fu? Hearing this hurried and familiar voice, Zhou Donghuang, who had been sitting calmly at the table, suddenly stood up from his seat. If Fu had not met with an urgent matter, he would not have come looking for him, and he would not have lost his composure like this. Young Master Donghuang. When Zhou Donghuang saw Fu, he realized that there was another person beside him. It was Lu Qinghu, the chief of the preeminent Lu family in the inferior prefecture capital of the Yunfeng prefecture. But now, Lu Qinghu was not only travel-worn, but also injured. What happened? Zhou Donghuang's expression changed. For months ago, he had asked Fu to find someone to send a message to Lu Qinghu on a Fergana horse so that Lu Qinghu could personally send his mother Lin Lan and sister Yun Lu to the Chu royal city. And now, seeing Lu Qinghu injured, he could not help but have a bad feeling. Thump. Chapter 108. For months ago, he had formulated the concentration elixir and found out that it could help him increase the speed of his practice of the Lord of the Four Supremes to the maximum. Zhou Donghuang had asked Fu to find a courier station with Fergana horses to send a letter back to Yunfeng prefecture and hand it to Lu Qinghu. At such a courier station, one could change messengers at each stop and change to a Fergana horse to continue the journey without having to worry about resting along the way. Under such circumstances, it would take at most a month for the letter to be sent from the Chu royal city to the capital of Yunfeng prefecture and into Lu Qinghu's hands. And Lu Qinghu appearing in the Chu royal city at this time meant that he had rushed over on a Fergana horse. My mother and Xiaolu, where were they abducted? Who kidnapped them? Zhou Donghuang asked as he stared at Lu Qinghu. Although Zhou Donghuang was trying his best to suppress his anger, the onlookers could still hear the anger in his voice. Lu Qinghu said with a bitter expression, Madam and Miss Yun Lu were kidnapped when we just entered the central King's Ridge. Brother Freezing Wind and I almost died at the hands of those people. It was Miss Yun Lu who threatened to kill herself at the critical moment, so they didn't kill us. Do you know who they are? Zhou Donghuang's eyes were cold, and his face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. Kidnapped his mother? Kidnapped his sister? No matter who they were, they could not be forgiven. However, Lu Qinghu's words revealed a very important piece of information that calmed him down a little. Those people were worried that his sister Yun Lu would seek death. This also meant that even if his sister, Yun Lu, and his mother, Lin Lan, were taken away, they would not be in any danger in the short term. They said they were from the Fan family of Tianqiu City. Lu Qinghu said. Now, Brother Freezing Wind has brought Zhou Han and Zhou Feng to Tianqiu City, and I am in charge of rushing to the Chu royal city to inform young Master Donghuang. The Fan family of Tianqiu City? Tang Liunian, the chief of the tycoon Tang family who had followed behind Zhou Donghuang, had wanted to say that the Tang family was willing to help the young man after hearing what had happened. But when he heard that the people who kidnapped Zhou Donghuang's family were from the Fan family of Tianqiu City, he instinctively shut his mouth. Tianqiu City wasn't a county city. Tianqiu City was different from a prefecture city that controlled a prefecture. It was just a city in the central ridge of the western Chu King Ridge. The western ridge of the Chu King had the Chu royal city as its center, and the surrounding area, which did not belong to any prefecture, was the central ridge. And in the central King's Ridge, besides the Chu royal city, there were many other cities that were directly governed by the Chu royal household. There were 4 tycoon families in Tianqiu City, and one of them was the Fan family. Of course, the Fan clan's strength was not much weaker than the Tang clan's. This was because the Fan family only had one level 9 adept. However, the reason why Tang Liunian was wary of the Fan family was not because they were a tycoon family, but because of their close relationship with the Chu royal family. The wife of the prince of the Chu royal household, Princess Consort, was from the Fan family and was the elder sister of the current head of the Fan family. With such a relationship, even the top 3 tycoon families of the Chu royal city would not dare to offend the Fan family, let alone the Tang family. The Fan family? Although the 3 elders of the top tycoon families who had come with Tang Liunian were all level 9 adepts of prominent backgrounds, when they heard that Zhou Donghuang's family had been abducted by the Fan family, they all shook their heads, and a look of pity appeared in their eyes. The other superior-level tycoon families whose strength was on par with the Tang family also shook their heads at this moment. As for the other families, they all felt that Zhou Donghuang would not be able to do anything to the Fan family. After all, the Fan family was backed by the master of the Western Chu Ridge, the Chu royal household. However, under the gaze of the crowd, Zhou Donghuang looked at Lu Qinghu and asked, "Do you know the way?" "Yes." Lu Qinghu nodded. He and Freezing Wind had parted ways near Tianqiu City, so he knew where Tianqiu City was and knew the way there. "Young Master Donghuang, that Fan family seems to be a tycoon family." Lu Qinghu reminded him softly, his eyes full of seriousness. Even a lowly tycoon family would have at least a level 8 adept holding down the fort. Although the youth before him was extremely talented, he did not think that the youth would have the ability to contend with a level 8 adept in less than a year. Young Master Donghuang. At this moment, the patriarch of the Tang family, Tang Liunian, could not help but remind him, the Fan family of Tianqiu City is a tycoon family that is no weaker than our Tang family. In the Fan family, there is a level 9 adept and 3 level 8 adepts. Seeing that the youth did not even turn his head, Tang Liunian continued, "The most frightening thing about the Fan family is not their status as a tycoon family, but their relationship with the Chu royal household. The consort of the Chu royal household, the wife of the lord of the Chu royal household, is the elder sister of the current patriarch of the Fan family. Because of this, although the Fan family is only a superior-level tycoon family, it has a very high status in the Western Chu Ridge." As he spoke, Tang Liunian's eyes could not help but fill with fear. Even our LV family does not dare to offend the Fan family. The 4th elder of the LV family, LV Zhong'an, shook his head as he spoke. "Young man, although I do not know why your family was abducted by the Fan family, since it was done by the Fan family, you should accept your fate." The 2nd elder of the Lu family, Lu Shuyang, sighed. In the Western Chu Ridge, even an ordinary petty consummation adept of the Qi gathering would not dare to offend the Fan family. The 3rd elder of the Ouyang family, Ouyang Zhen, also spoke up. At this moment, the 3 level 9 elders of the 3 elite tycoon families of the Chu royal city all had expressions of fear on their faces. However, Zhou Donghuang did not seem to hear what the 3 of them said as he looked up at the sky. "They're finally here. If they had come any later, it would have stewed them all together." Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly as he muttered to himself. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words and seeing him look up at the sky, everyone present, including Lu Qinghu, Tang Liunian, and the elders of the 3 elite tycoon families, instinctively raised their heads and followed Zhou Donghuang's gaze to the sky. Whoosh! Whoosh! Almost at the same time that everyone raised their heads, 2 black figures appeared high up in the sky, as if they had transformed into 2 bolts of lightning, flying over from afar and only slowing down when they appeared above the Tang family household. Then, these 2 black figures suddenly swooped down, and wherever they landed, the scions of the Grand and Tycoon families all gave way. Boom! Kaboom! The 2 black figures landed on the ground like 2 huge boulders falling to the ground, shattering the 2 large round tables under their feet and causing a huge mess on the ground. At the same time, the entire front yard of the Tang family household shook as if there had been a violent earthquake. If one looked closely, they could see that under the feet of the 2 black figures, cracks had spread out like a spider's web, and the cracks were wide enough to fit an infant's fist. This, when the people present saw the 2 black shadows clearly, they were all dumbstruck. Even Tang Liuyan and the elders of the three elite tycoon families were no exception. Only when Zhou Donghuang's hand landed on Lu Qinghu's shoulder and he brought Lu Qinghu up to land on the back of one of the black figures did everyone come to their senses. Fu, send Zixi back. Zhou Donghuang looked down at Fu from above, and after giving the order, he looked at the black figure beneath him. His mouth moved, but no one present heard any sound. He was now speaking in the language of the beasts. Which direction? Zhou Donghuang asked Lu Qinghu in a low voice. That way. Lu Qinghu looked at the giant black eagle with a golden crown, and after suppressing the shock in his heart, he pointed in a direction. That was the direction of Tianqiu City. Whoosh! Whoosh! Suddenly, there was a strong gust of wind as the two giant black eagles flapped their wings and soared into the sky, once again turning into two bolts of lightning as they sped in the direction Lu Qinghu had pointed. Only when the two black shadows disappeared from their sight did the group of people in the front courtyard of the Tang family estate come back to their senses. That was, golden-crowned eagle? The Tang clan's third elder, Tang Yong, was among the group of people who had regained their senses relatively early. After he regained his senses, he exclaimed in shock. It's the two golden-crowned eagles from the Lost Forest. Half a year ago, when I entered the Lost Forest to hunt, they stole my chi-gathering elixir. A patriarch of a tycoon family's eyes widened, and he let out a shrill cry as if he had seen a ghost. My God! Why would those two golden-crowned eagles appear in the Chu royal city? Also, that golden-crowned eagle with the deeper golden crown on its head is actually willing to be that youth's mount? Even the king of the Chu royal family would not be able to make those two golden-crowned eagles his mount, right? That youth, who exactly is he? When the group of grand families and tycoon families came to their senses, their faces were filled with shock, and their eyes were filled with incredulity. Young Master Donghuang. Tang Liuyan swallowed hard. He had thought that he had overestimated that youth, but now it seemed that not only had he not overestimated him, but he had also underestimated him. The expressions of the elders of the three elite tycoon families weren't any better either. At this point, they did not dare to doubt Tang Liuyan's words. That youth had even tamed the two golden-crowned eagles of the Lost Forest, and it was normal that he had easily killed the level 9 grizzly bear. Big Brother Zhou, the young girl's beautiful face was also pale with fright. She had never imagined that. Chapter 109. The two golden-crowned eagles of the Lost Forest were demons of petty consummation and were famous throughout the central ridge of the western ridge of the Chu King. Even the Chu royal household, which controlled the western ridge of the Chu King, was helpless against them. The imperial court of Yunyang had even specially sent a great consummation adept to the western ridge of the Chu King to deal with the two golden-crowned eagles, but they had returned empty-handed. Not only had they returned empty-handed, but many of the people accompanying the great consummation adept, from petty consummation to level 9 of the Qi gathering, had died. After that incident, there was basically no one around the Chu royal city who did not know the terror of the two golden-crowned eagles of the Lost Forest. Because of this, the group of people in the front yard of the Tang family mansion could not help but tremble when they saw the young man in white standing on a golden-crowned eagle and being escorted away by another golden-crowned eagle. This shock was even more intense than the reverence that Tang Liuyan, the patriarch of the tycoon Tang family, had for the youth. The Yang family has lost a great opportunity. Although Yang Yunji, the patriarch of the Grand Yang family, had long regretted kicking Yang Zixi out of the family, he had suppressed his emotions and did not show it. But now, he could no longer suppress it, and his face was full of regret. The more outstanding the youth was, the more he regretted it. Patriarch, I regret it so much. Ren Qiong, the first elder of the Grand Ren family, said bitterly as he looked at Tian Xing, the head of the Ren family. His wrinkled face twitched slightly. Ren Tianqing shook his head and smiled bitterly. He actually tamed the golden-crowned eagles? Sure Yu, the head elder of the Tycoon Shi family, still had a look of disbelief on his face. He could not believe that the youth had actually tamed the 2 golden-crowned eagles that were known as the masters of the Lost Forest. If he really was born and raised in the inferior prefecture of Yunfeng Prefecture, then how big of a secret does he have? How valuable must the treasures he has obtained be? Shi Yu's eyes were filled with passion as he thought about this. Although the banquet continued after Zhou Donghuang left, the crowd of grand and tycoon families did not seem to be paying attention. Under Tang Liuyan's warm hospitality, Yang Zishi and Fu only left after finishing their meal. After Zhou Donghuang had left, the elders of the 3 top tycoon families bid farewell to Tang Liuyan and returned to their respective families to report what they had seen that day. The appearance of a youth who had the ability to tame the 2 golden-crowned eagles of the Lost Forest meant that another powerful force had appeared in the western ridge of the Chu King. Any family that obtained this force would be able to rise rapidly. Tianqiu City was a city that occupied an area similar to that of a mid-tier prefecture city. It was much larger than a low-tier prefecture city. But with the speed of the eagles and the skies unobstructed, Zhou Donghuang and Zhou Donghuang family, the city of Tianqiu City of the Peak, forest of Tianqiu City was of Star Saint City Peak Saint Forest. However, with the golden-crowned eagle's speed and the unobstructed air, the outline of Tianqiu City appeared in their field of vision by the afternoon of the second day. We're here already? Lu Qinghuang was still in a daze when he saw Tianqiu City. He had never expected to reach Tianqiu City from the Chu royal city in less than a day. It must be known that he had spent a whole 10 days on the Fergana stallion to rush to his destination with all his might. Young Master Donghuang, Freezing Wind, Zhou Han, and Zhou Feng have remained in Tianqiu City to keep an eye on the Fan family household, as well as gather information on Madame and Lady Yunlu. Shall we first find them and meet up with them? Lu Qinghuang asked Zhou Donghuang respectfully as the golden-crowned eagles arrived above the gates of Tianqiu City. There's no need for that. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. Just find someone and ask where the Fan family household is. Zhou Donghuang looked at the other golden-crowned eagle and said in demon language, Little Gold, go and capture someone. Be careful, don't kill him, I want him alive. Young master, you want me to capture someone, but you don't want me to kill him, isn't that a little too difficult? Little Gold said aggrievedly. Its claws were extremely sharp and could cut through metal like mud. To ask it to capture a human body and not kill him, was that not making things difficult for the eagle? Zhou Donghuang glanced at Little Gold and said slowly, I'll give you 10 breaths time. If I don't see anyone after 10 breaths time, I'll cut off your supply of qi-gathering elixir for a month. Whoosh! Almost as soon as Zhou Donghuang finished speaking, Little Gold spread its wings and retracted them. It transformed into a bolt of black lightning and flew straight into Tianqiu City. After about 7 or 8 breaths, Little Gold returned. At the same time, it was holding a well-dressed young man in his claws. The young man's face was pale, and his entire body was trembling. He had been strolling along the streets, enjoying the cheers of the citizens of Tianqiu City, but in the blink of an eye, disaster had befallen him. A giant black eagle had swooped down and carried him up into the sky. Young master, when I rushed down, I took a look. He was the best-dressed person on the entire street. I thought he knew more, so I caught him. Little Gold said to Zhou Donghuang. Fortunately, the youth did not understand Little Gold's words. Otherwise, he would have been traumatized and would never dare to wear good clothes on the streets again. Do you know where the Fan family household is? Zhou Donghuang looked calmly at the youth and asked directly. Even now, the youth was still in a daze, and his expression was one of shock. If you don't know, I'll let it go. Zhou Donghuang said lightly. Whoosh! Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, the youth's expression changed and he hurriedly pointed in the direction of Tianqiu City. The Fan family household is on the east side of Tianqiu City, against the east wall. The biggest household is the Fan family household. Thank you. Zhou Donghuang nodded at the youth and called out to Big Gold. Big Gold turned into a bolt of lightning and flew towards the Fan family household. As for the well-dressed young man, when Big Gold was about to leave, Zhou Donghuang instructed Little Gold, "Send him back, then follow me to the Fan family household." Therefore, the youth was sent back to the street by Little Gold in a few moments. Whoosh! Whoosh! Seeing Little Gold take to the skies and fly in the direction of the Fan family manor, the well-dressed young man was still in a daze. It was clear that he had been badly frightened. The giant black eagle that captured the Hua family and sent back has a golden crown on its head. It looks like the legendary golden-crowned eagle of the Lost Forest. Not far from the youth, a passerby murmured. "Now that you mention it, it does look like it. It's exactly the same as the rumors say. If that really is the golden-crowned eagle, the Hua family really got away with it. The Hua family is blessed by the heavens." Although the Hua family is a tycoon family, the two golden-crowned eagles in the Lost Forest are demons of petty consummation of the Qi gathering. If second young Master Hua dies at their hands, the Hua family will not have the guts to avenge him. The youth was the second young master of the Tycoon Hua family, another tycoon family in Tianqiu City. Because he did not put on any airs, he respected the old and loved the young, so he was well liked by the residents of Tianqiu City. Golden-crowned eagles? Hearing the discussions of the people around him, the well-dressed youth shuddered, his expression changing drastically. Those two giant eagles are exactly the same as the legendary golden-crowned eagles of the Lost Forest. However, the young man's pupils quickly constricted. That youth and that middle-aged man are standing on one of the golden-crowned eagles. Who are they? The golden-crowned eagles are their mounts? Also, that youth asked me where the Fan family household is. From the looks of it, he doesn't look like he's going there as a guest. They are going to cause trouble for the Fan family? The Fan family household occupied a large area, much larger than the Tang family household in the Chu royal city. Of course, this was because this was Tianqiu City and not the Chu royal city, so the land was more abundant. As a tycoon family, it was easy for the Fan family to occupy a large area. Within the Fan family household, there was a small dungeon used to imprison the Fan family disciples who had committed crimes. And now, in one of the cells of the small dungeon, a little girl of about 8 or 9 years old was tied to the wall. Her body was covered in wounds, and her breathing was weak. Creak! The door to the cell opened, and a sly and mean-looking old woman walked in. She squinted at the little girl and asked, "She still hasn't said anything?" "Aunt Xian, this girl is very stubborn. Even if we torture her to death, she might not confess," the middle-aged woman in the cell said with a bitter smile. The middle-aged woman held a thick whip in her hand, which was still dripping with blood, obviously from the little girl. "Humph!" the old woman snorted. "In that case, let's change the method. Bring the woman who was brought back with her here, and torture her in front of her. I want to see if she doesn't care about her own life or death, and if she doesn't care about that woman's life." As she said this, a cold light flashed in the old woman's eyes. "Old woman Xian, if you dare touch my mother, I, Yun Lu, will haunt you even as a ghost." The little girl, who had been on the verge of death, said through gritted teeth, a cold light flashing in her dim eyes when she heard the old woman's words. "Oh. It seems that this little girl really cares about that woman." The old woman laughed, and so did the middle-aged woman. "Aunt Xian, I'll bring that woman over now." "No." Chapter 110. In the sky above the Fan family household. A youth dressed in snow-white robes stood atop the golden-crowned eagle, his hands clasped behind his back as he overlooked the entire Fan family household, his expression impassive. "Little Gold, tear down the Fan family household for me." The youth's gaze swept over the buildings beneath his feet as he spoke calmly to the other golden-crowned eagle. "Yes, young master." Little Gold's eyes lit up as he heard the youth's order, and he immediately swooped down towards the largest building. Boom! Kaboom! The golden-crowned eagle turned into a bolt of black lightning, and the buildings collapsed wherever it passed. Not a single building could withstand its impact. A petty consummation demon was like a petty consummation adept. Their chi could explode with the strength of 9 bulls and 1 tiger. The strength of 9 bulls and 1 tiger was more than 9,000 jin. Furthermore, as a demon, Little Gold had physical strength that far exceeded the limits of a human's muscles. In terms of explosive power, no petty consummation adept could compare to Little Gold. Even Zhou Donghuang, who was now a petty consummation adept, could not compare to Little Gold in terms of pure strength. The reason why he was able to suppress Little Gold in all aspects, and even suppress Little Gold and Big Gold's combined attack, was because he had used human martial arts techniques. Human martial arts techniques were enough to make up for the difference in physical strength between humans and demons. Of course, the bodies of some demons were too strong, and even a human of the same level with decent martial arts techniques would not be able to match them. For example, the grizzly bear that had died at the hands of Zhou Donghuang in the Lost Forest was invincible among the level 9 demons in the Lost Forest. Even the patriarch of the Tycoon Tang family was no match for it. The grizzly bear's body was even tougher and stronger than the golden-crowned eagle's. Following Little Gold's attack, the entire Fan family household was thrown into chaos. In the blink of an eye, Little Gold had torn down nearly half of the Fan family household. Little Gold's speed was too fast. Coupled with its strength, no demolition team on Earth would be as efficient as it was. What's going on? What's that? My God! That's an eagle. A group of people from the Fan family rushed out of the collapsed building. Their eyes were filled with fear. When they saw the giant eagle still wreaking havoc in the Fan family mansion, their expressions changed drastically. Gulp. Lu Qinghu, who was standing beside the young man, swallowed hard when he saw the scene in front of him. He was only able to stabilize himself with the young man's hand on his shoulder. Young master, this eagle, what rank is it? Why did it feel like there was a faint sonic boom when it attacked? That is the mark of a great consummation adept. Previously, when he saw the speed of the 2 black eagles, it was not difficult for Lu Qinghu to judge that they were not weak, but he did not have a specific idea. Now that he saw one of the black eagles make a move, he was completely frightened. A sonic boom was the hallmark of a great consummation adept of the Qi gathering. In addition, only a force of more than 10,000 jin could create a sonic boom. And now, when this black eagle was tearing down the various buildings in the Fan family mansion, it occasionally made a sonic boom. That was why he asked Zhou Donghuang this question. It is a petty consummation demon, and because of the strength of the demon's body, its strength has reached the threshold of 10,000 jin of strength. Zhou Donghuang said unhurriedly. Although he was mentally prepared, Lu Qinghu could not help but gasp when he heard Zhou Donghuang say that the Black Eagle was a petty consummation demon. In that case, could it also be a petty consummation demon of the Qi gathering level? Lu Qinghu murmured as he looked down at the Black Eagle at his feet. It is the big brother of the stupid bird that is attacking, what do you think? Zhou Donghuang countered. Lu Qinghu was dumbstruck. 2 petty consummation demons, and flying demons at that, had actually been subdued by this young Master Donghuang? How long had it been? This young Master Donghuang had already grown to this stage? Young Master Donghuang, have you already attained great consummation of the Qi gathering? Lu Qinghu asked Zhou Donghuang in a trembling voice, swallowing hard again. Great consummation of the Qi gathering? Zhou Donghuang shook his head. Just a little more, in another half a year, should be able to attain it. Zhou Donghuang said this casually, but it shocked Lu Qinghu so much that his heart trembled. When he looked at the youth again, there was a sense of unfamiliarity in his eyes, as if this was the first day he had met the youth. Boom! Kaboom! Soon, all the buildings in the Fan family mansion that were of any height were torn down by Little Gold. There was a series of loud noises, and dust filled the air. Young master, can you let me do such things in the future? Little Gold is having fun over there, and I'm just here watching. I'm bored. Big Gold said unhappily to the youth on its back as it watched Big Gold fly out from the cloud of dust. There will be opportunities in the future. Zhou Donghuang said lightly. Young master, I did well, didn't I? Little Gold asked Zhou Donghuang excitedly after it returned, taking the initiative to ask for credit. So. Zhou Donghuang said half-heartedly. You call this a so-so? Little Gold's eyes widened, clearly unconvinced. Why? Do you have a problem with that? Zhou Donghuang looked at Little Gold calmly, and Little Gold hurriedly looked away in fear, shaking its head. No. Definitely not. At this critical moment, Little Gold thought of the chi-gathering elixir. If it angered this youth, and he was not given the elixir, would it not be a huge loss? Why did it leave the lost forest and follow this young man to fool around? Was it not for the chi-gathering elixir? Otherwise, why would it come out when it was so carefree and unfettered in the lost forest? About a quarter of an hour later, the dust that shrouded the entire Fan family mansion finally dissipated. At this time, Zhou Donghuang let Big Gold descend, lowering its altitude and appearing before the eyes of many of the Fan family members. Little Gold followed suit and descended. In a moment, a few sharp-eyed disciples of the Fan family saw Big Gold and Little Gold first. Look over there. Just now, it was those two black eagles who attacked. That's right. It was them. Where did they come from? Why did they attack the Fan family mansion? The disciples of the Fan family clearly thought that the ones who had just attacked were the two black eagles in front of them. For a moment, their frightened gazes were filled with resentment. Young master, what are they talking about? Big Gold asked Zhou Donghuang curiously when he noticed the Fan family disciples looking at him. They are saying that it was you and Little Gold who demolished the Fan family mansion together. Zhou Donghuang smiled. What? Hearing Zhou Donghuang's translation, Big Gold was furious. I didn't even do anything, and they say I did? Young master, if you want to kill them later, let me do it. I, Big Gold, have never felt so humiliated in my life. Only Little Gold felt good. I didn't even feel good, and they dare say I did? I can't take this anymore. I can't. Just now, seeing that Little Gold had been able to demolish the Fan family mansion, Big Gold had been very envious and wanted to join in the demolition. However, its young master was on its back, so it did not dare to act rashly. But now, even though it had not done anything, the Fan family was saying that it had. How could it take this lying down? Golden-crowned eagles. Those look like golden-crowned eagles. Suddenly, a shocked exclamation came from the Fan family crowd, drowning out the voices of most of the people present. After a moment, more and more people, through careful observation of the two black eagles circling low in the air, realized that these two eagles looked exactly like the two legendary golden-crowned eagles of the Lost Forest. That's right. These are the golden-crowned eagles. My God! Why would the golden-crowned eagles come to the Fan family mansion? No wonder I heard a sonic boom when these two black eagles destroyed the Fan family mansion. So these two black eagles are the two golden-crowned eagles of the Lost Forest, the overlords of the Lost Forest, demons of the petty consummation level of the Chi Gathering. After confirming that the two black eagles circling low in the air were the two petty consummation golden-crowned eagles of the Lost Forest, the eyes and faces of the Fan family members were filled with fear. Why would the golden-crowned eagles destroy the Fan family mansion? Did you see that? There are two people standing on the back of the golden-crowned eagle with the deeper golden crown on its head. A youth and a middle-aged man. There really are people. I thought I was seeing things. My God! Who are they? Using golden-crowned eagles as mounts, even the king of the Chu royal household, who controls the entire western ridge of the Chu king, does not have the ability to tame these two golden-crowned eagles. When the group of Fan family members saw Zhou Donghuang and Lu Qinghu, they were naturally scared out of their wits. At the same time, they realized that the two golden-crowned eagles must have something to do with these two people. Patriarch. Patriarch. More and more Fan family members gathered, and soon, with a wave of greetings, a middle-aged man dressed in a silver robe with gold trim strode over from afar. This middle-aged man was of medium build, and his features were ordinary, but his eyes were bright and full of expression, as if he were the finishing touch. Behind the middle-aged man were two old men. One of the old men was an old woman. Patriarch of the Tycoon Fan family, Fan Cheng, greets the two sirs. The middle-aged man in the lead came to where the two golden-crowned eagles were circling and bowed to the two people on the eagles' backs. Although his eyes were filled with rage, he did not dare to vent the anger in his heart in the face of the two golden-crowned eagles. He had once entered the Lost Forest with the people of the Chu royal household, and his chi-gathering elixir had been snatched away by the two golden-crowned eagles. Therefore, with just one look, he recognized them. Chapter 111. I wonder, how has the Fan family offended you too? Although the two men before him were unfamiliar faces, as the patriarch of a tycoon family, Fan Cheng did not dare to be disrespectful and asked in a low voice. What a joke! The two men before him had come riding the golden-crowned eagles of the Lost Forest. How could they be ordinary people? Even the emperor of the Yunyang imperial court might not have the ability to make these two golden-crowned eagles his mount, much less his brother-in-law and the king of the Chu royal family. Of course, the two men before him might have used some special method to tame these two golden-crowned eagles, but even so, they were not people he could afford to offend. With a single command, the golden-crowned eagles had destroyed the Fan family household. It was clear that the golden-crowned eagles were completely obedient to their commands. From start to finish, Fan Cheng did not think that the golden-crowned eagles had acted on their own accord, because he had never heard of two golden-crowned eagles leaving the Lost Forest, let alone leaving to attack a family. Even if the two golden-crowned eagles had wanted to attack a family on a whim, surely they would not have chosen the Fan family. From the Lost Forest to the Fan family's Tianqiu city, they not only had to pass through the Chu royal city, but also two other cities. Not to mention the clans in the latter two cities, there were more than 100 clans in the Chu royal city. 10 days ago, the Fan family forcibly took away a woman and a girl on the official road south of Tianqiu city, Lu Qinghu said in a low voice. He pointed to the old woman behind Fan Cheng. That day, it was this old woman who led the team to capture them. The old woman was the second elder of the Fan family, Fan Qizhu. Earlier, she had felt that the middle-aged man on the back of the golden-crowned eagle looked familiar, but she could not recall where. Now that she heard his words, her expression changed to one of horror and disbelief. It's you. She had never dreamed that the man she had killed as easily as an ant 10 days ago would be standing on the back of the golden-crowned eagle, the master of the Lost Forest, looking down at her with the golden-crowned eagle as his mount. Who could tell her what was going on? Her. Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly, and his mouth moved. In the next moment, the golden-crowned eagle, Little Gold, who had been circling by the side, suddenly flapped its wings and turned into a bolt of black lightning, heading straight for Fan Qizhu. Before she could react, it had already grabbed her and flown more than 100 meters into the air. The way Little Gold caught Fan Qizhu was completely different from when it caught the young man in luxurious clothes in Tianqiu city. As for the latter, it did not hurt him. But now, a pair of sharp claws directly pierced through Fan Qizhu's shoulders. When she was sent flying into the sky, blood sprayed through the air, dazzling to the eyes. No, under everyone's gaze, Little Gold let go of Fan Qizhu's sharp claws 100 meters up in the air. Fan Qizhu let out a shrill cry and fell from the sky. Boom! Under the watchful eyes of the Fan family, Fan Qizhu had only injured her shoulders before she flew up into the sky, but when she came down, she directly fell into a pile of meat paste, completely lifeless. Falling from a height of more than 100 meters, even a great consummation adept of the Qi gathering would have no chance of survival, much less a level 8 adept like Fan Qizhu. Second elder, everyone in the Fan family, including the patriarch of the Fan family, Fan Cheng, felt their scalps go numb, and a chill shot up from their feet to their heads. A perfectly fine person had fallen to her death in the blink of an eye before their very eyes. At the same time that Fan Qizhu fell to her death, Little Gold deliberately flew at a low altitude, circling around the Fan family, scaring them into a look of fear. Who did second elder offend? Many of the Fan family juniors looked fearful, and some of the more timid ones even wet their pants. Such a powerful demonic beast was something that even the entire Fan clan would not be able to contend against. More than 10 days ago, the woman and girl that were captured. I think it was the patriarch, who sent second elder to capture them. A direct descendant of the Fan family murmured softly, at the same time glancing at the patriarch of the Fan family, Fan Cheng. When Fan Cheng heard what he said, his expression changed instantly, and he glared at him as if he wanted to immediately flay him alive. Wasn't he just creating trouble for him by saying these words at this time? Fortunately, his voice was not loud, and the two people on the back of the golden-crowned eagle should not have heard him. However, what the white-robed young man on the eagle's back said next caused Fan Cheng to fall into complete despair. Did you send people to capture my mother and sister? Zhou Donghuang looked down at Fan Cheng indifferently, his tone calm, as if without any emotion. Sir, that Yun Lu is only from a small grand family, how could she be your sister? Fan Cheng took a deep breath and looked at the youth on the eagle's back, his expression uneasy as he asked, are you mistaken? Grand family? Zhou Donghuang's heart skipped a beat. No wonder even Freezing Wind had said that Xiao Lu's martial talent was not bad, so Xiao Lu came from a grand family. Where are they? Zhou Donghuang asked calmly. Just as Zhou Donghuang finished speaking, Fan Cheng hurriedly turned to look at the old man behind him. Head elder, quick! Quickly invite Madam and Lady Yun Lu over. Yes, Patriarch. The old man responded and left. Sir. Fan Cheng looked at Zhou Donghuang uneasily. I didn't know that Madam was traveling with Lady Yun Lu, but I guarantee that the Fan family's target was only Lady Yun Lu, not Madam. However, Zhou Donghuang ignored him, standing quietly on the back of the golden-crowned eagle and waiting. After about 15 minutes, the old man returned, accompanied by a crafty-looking old woman and a middle-aged woman. Both of them had ugly expressions on their faces. They had never dreamed that, they had just followed the instructions of the patriarch of the Fan family to dig out the whereabouts of the item from the little girl's mouth, when the little girl's savior had arrived. Furthermore, it was a savior so powerful that the Fan family was no match for him. It really is a golden-crowned eagle. When their gazes landed on the two giant black eagles circling in the air, their pupils constricted, their faces filled with fear and shock. At this moment, they knew that the head elder had not lied to them. Now, the three of them were escorting a beautiful woman forward, and in the beautiful woman's arms was a little girl who was covered in wounds and on the brink of death. Xiao Lu, your brother is here. Hang in there, you must hang in there. Lin Lan's face was full of anxiety, and tears streamed down her face as her gaze never left the little girl in her arms. Mother. In the instant that he saw Lin Lan, Zhou Donghuang ordered Big Gold to fly towards Lin Lan, landing not far from her, and then leaping off the eagle's back with Lu Qinghu. Zhou Donghuang walked to Lin Lan's side, and when he saw the little girl in her arms, covered in wounds and covered in blood, his eyes hardened, and a murderous aura rose. Donghuang, look at Xiao Lu, you must have a way, right? Am I right? Lin Lan handed the little girl in her arms to Zhou Donghuang in a panic. After Zhou Donghuang took the little girl, he took out a small medicine bottle and poured the medicine into the little girl's mouth. Xiaolu, this is the wound-healing elixir that I made. Take it, and you'll recover in no time. Zhou Donghuang's tone was as gentle as water. Cough, cough, cough. The little girl swallowed the medicine with much difficulty and struggled to open her eyes. After seeing Zhou Donghuang, a bright smile bloomed on her young face. "Brother, you're here?" Xiao Lu. Xiao Lu protected mother well. Xiao Lu didn't let mother get hurt. Cough. Cough, cough, brother, Xiao Lu is so sleepy, so sleepy. Seeing Zhou Donghuang, the little girl heaved a long sigh of relief, then closed her eyes and fell into a deep sleep. Zhou Donghuang took out a bottle of blood-staunching elixir with a serious expression. Bit by bit, he very carefully poured the elixir onto the exposed wounds on the little girl's body. It was fine at first, but when he saw that all 10 of the little girl's fingernails had been pulled out, he could no longer suppress his emotions. He suddenly raised his head, and his eyes were suffused with a thick scarlet red. Big gold, little gold, kill everyone who is in this mansion. Leave the leader for last. After speaking to Big Gold and Little Gold, Zhou Donghuang carried the little girl and bade farewell to Lin Lan as they walked towards the main entrance of the Fan family mansion. Lu Qinghu followed closely behind. Just as the patriarch of the Fan family, Fan Cheng, was walking towards the main entrance of the Fan family mansion, he could not help but heave a sigh of relief, thinking that the Fan family had escaped a calamity. Perhaps he also knows of the relationship between the Fan family and the Chu royal family, and would not dare to go overboard. Fan Cheng thought to himself. However, just as the youth had taken a few steps forward, he saw the 2 golden-crowned eagles move. With a single attack, they killed the head elder of the Fan family and the old woman and woman beside him. Immediately after, the 2 golden-crowned eagles suddenly turned and flew towards him. Just as he thought he was going to die, he saw the 2 golden-crowned eagles glance at him coldly, then ignore him and charge towards the rest of the Fan family. And the Fan family, faced with 2 petty consummation demons of the golden-crowned eagles, were naturally powerless, and in the blink of an eye, they all fell to the ground with blood-curdling screams. "Quick, make them stop!" Fan Cheng shouted as he looked at the youth gradually disappearing into the distance. "My biological sister is the consort of the Chu royal family. The king of the Chu royal family is my brother-in-law." However, no matter how Fan Cheng threatened him, the youth completely ignored him and led his men out of the Fan family mansion, finding a nearby inn to stay in. Yun Lu's injuries were too serious, and she could not afford to travel. Even with the wound-healing elixir and blood-staunching elixir, she still needed to rest for a few days. On January 12, 1229 of the Xian era, the Fan family of Tianqiu City was completely wiped out. It was said that the culprits who had wiped out the Fan family were the 2 golden-crowned eagles of the Lost Forest. Chapter 112. With the wound-healing elixir that Zhou Donghuang had given Yun Lu's internal injuries had healed 70 to 80% in just 3 days, and she would be completely healed in a few more days. As for the wounds on Yun Lu's body, they had already scabbed over with Zhou Donghuang's blood-staunching elixir. Only the 10 fingernails that had been plucked off needed time to slowly recover. "Big brother, I've already been awake for 2 days. Aren't you curious why the Fan family wanted to capture me?" In the guest room of the inn, Yun Lu, who was lying on the bed, asked the youth sitting at the head of the bed with a mischievous smile. "There's nothing to be curious about." Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly. "All I know is that you are my sister, that's enough." "Then does Big Brother want to hear about my past?" Yun Lu asked again. "If Xiao Lu wants to tell me, Big Brother is naturally willing to listen." Zhou Donghuang smiled as he patted the girl's head. His gentle demeanor was completely different from the usual cold youth. "Big brother, Xiao Lu was the daughter of the patriarch of the Grandyun family. When Xiao Lu was 5, a group of people came to our house. It was the Fan family. They killed Xiao Lu's parents, killed Xiao Lu's grandfather, and killed everyone in the Yun family." In the beginning, Yun Lu was still able to control her emotions. However, As she spoke to this point, her pair of small pink fists were tightly clenched together. Her face also tensed up and her eyes shot out the light of hatred. An ordinary family, even a tycoon family, would not dare to wipe out an entire family, much less a grand family. But the Fan family was different. The elder sister of the patriarch of the Fan family was the consort of the Chu royal family, and with the support of the Chu royal family, they did not need to care about the ban imposed by the imperial court of Yunyang. Furthermore, even if the imperial court of Yunyang knew about this, they would turn a blind eye to it on account of the Chu royal family. This was the benefit of having a strong background. Xiao Lu's mother took advantage of the chaos to send Xiao Lu away from the Yun family household, and gave Xiao Lu the item that the Fan family wanted to steal from the Yun family. Xiao Lu asked mother to go with Xiao Lu, but she refused. She insisted on living and dying with father. After that, Xiao Lu left for a very long time, far away, to avoid being hunted down by the Fan family, and ended up in Yunfeng Prefecture. After 4 years, I met Uncle Freezing Wind. Uncle Freezing Wind did not want to take me with him, but I saw him as my hope for revenge, and insisted on going with him. Big brother, you don't know how happy I was when I attained level 2 of Qi Gathering, because I saw the hope of revenge. Later, when I saw my brother and mother, I felt at home for the first time. It's just that I didn't expect to be recognized by the Fan family when I followed my mother to find you. At this point, Yun Lu's face was full of guilt. Big brother, I should not have insisted on riding the Fergana horse with mother to the Chu royal city. If I had taken the carriage with mother, I would definitely not have been targeted by the Fan family. Silly girl, it has nothing to do with you. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. Besides, mother is fine. On the other hand, you've been wronged this time. He. Big brother, let me take you to retrieve that thing. You have helped me take revenge for the Yun family, so I want to give that thing to you. Yun Lu said seriously. There's no need. Zhou Donghuang shook his head again. I avenged you because you are my sister, and it has nothing to do with anything else. Since that thing belongs to the Yun family, it is yours. In the future, you will carry that thing with you. If anyone tries to snatch it from you, I will help you teach him a lesson. Zhou Donghuang said with a smile. Big brother, that thing, although the Yun family treats it as a family treasure, they have studied it for a few generations without any results. If not for an uncle of mine who leaked the news when he was drunk, the Fan family would not have targeted it. Yun Lu shook her head and said, that thing is useless in my hands. Who knows, if I give it to you, you might be able to discover something. After all, Big brother is so powerful. As she said this, Yun Lu looked at Zhou Donghuang with a face full of admiration. Big brother, accompany Xiaolu to retrieve that thing. Yun Lu held Zhou Donghuang's hand with both hands, shaking it as she spoke coquettishly. All right, big brother will take you to retrieve that thing. Zhou Donghuang agreed helplessly, and then asked, where did you hide that thing? In Nanzhao Prefecture. Nanzhao Prefecture was the superior prefecture on the way from Guangling Prefecture to the Chu royal city. Big brother will make arrangements for mother and Freezing Wind, and then I will bring you to Nanzhao Prefecture. After informing Yun Lu, Zhou Donghuang left Yun Lu's room to look for Freezing Wind, Lu Qinghu, and the others. Now, Freezing Wind had already brought Zhou Han and Zhou Feng to meet up with them. The three of you, I will get little gold to send you and my mother to the Chu royal city first. Zhou Donghuang looked at Freezing Wind, Zhou Han, and Zhou Feng. When you reach the Chu royal city, meet Fu, and he will arrange accommodations for you. As the three of them acknowledged respectfully, Zhou Donghuang looked at Lu Qinghu. As for Chief Lu, you can return to the Yunfeng Prefecture capital first. Young Master Donghuang. Lu Qinghu gritted his teeth and knelt before Zhou Donghuang. In the future, I would like to follow you and serve you faithfully. You are the head of a family, why would you want to follow me? Zhou Donghuang shook his head. I can leave the Lu family to my second brother, Lu Bao. I would like to follow you, young Master Dong Huang, to broaden my horizons. Lu Qinghu said seriously. Every time he saw the youth before him, he was able to give him a different kind of shock. In such a short time, the youth had actually become a petty consummation adept of the Qi gathering. As for the improvements of everyone around the young man, he was both shocked and envious of them. Although being the head of the Lu family was impressive, it was not as enticing as attaining the legendary, Khanate stage. He always felt that if he followed this youth, he would have a chance of attaining the Khanate stage in the future. Zhou Donghuang looked deeply at Lu Qinghu, and while Lu Qinghu was feeling uneasy, he said casually, "You should make a trip back to the Lu family first. If you do not regret it on the way back, after you have settled your affairs with the Lu family, come find me in the Chu royal city." "Thank you, young Master Donghuang." Seeing that Zhou Donghuang had agreed, Lu Qinghu was overjoyed. "Mother, you go back to the Chu royal city first, Xiao Lu and I will be back in 2 days." Zhou Donghuang said to Lin Lan with a smile as he personally escorted her onto Little Gold's back. "Donghuang, mother knows that you are very capable now, but, you still have to be careful, and remember not to be arrogant," Lin Lan said with a serious expression. She was obviously worried that Zhou Donghuang would become too arrogant and out of control because of his current capabilities. "You have to know that there is always someone better than you out there." What she did not know was that Zhou Donghuang had 1,000 years of experience and knew this better than she did. "Mother, don't worry, I know. Xiao Lu, look after your brother." Before leaving, Lin Lan looked at Yun Lu and said dotingly, "Mother, I will." Yun Lu giggled. "Go." Following Zhou Donghuang's order, Little Gold carried Yun Lan, Freezing Wind, Zhou Han and Zhou Feng into the air and headed in the direction of the Chu royal city. After watching Lin Lan and the rest leave, Zhou Donghuang picked up Yun Lu and climbed onto Big Gold's back, letting Big Gold fly in the direction Yun Lu had pointed. With Big Gold's speed, it only took them a day and a night to reach the place Yun Lu had pointed out. In a bamboo forest outside a small town. "I remember, it seems to be here." It had been more than 3 years, and Yun Lu had only been 6 years old at the time. Although she had matured after the tragic events, her memory was still somewhat fuzzy, and she had searched half the bamboo forest before she found the package she had buried that year. The package was not big, only the size of an adult's fist. When Yun Lu opened the package, a small box with a rusty metal frame appeared. Yun Lu looked at the small box in her hands with a complicated expression. It was the thing in this box that had caused her family to be ruined. Big Brother. Yun Lu handed the box to Zhou Donghuang, forcing a smile on her face. "Take a look and see if it's of any use to you." Zhou Donghuang took the box and opened it to see what looked like a metal ball the size of a baby's fist, emitting a bone-chilling aura. "This is a sword sphere?" After picking up the small metal ball, Zhou Donghuang's eyes could not help but narrow. This thing, how did it appear in Yunyang country? In Zhou Donghuang's view, not just in Yunyang country, but even in the Valley of the Medicine Masters, this thing should not have appeared. This thing could only be made by adepts of the primal core stage and above with the Samadhi fire. Once activated, it could transform into a sword and attack. The sword sphere was made by adepts of the primal core stage and above, and it was given to juniors of lower levels of practice to protect themselves. Of course, activating the sword sphere also required technique. Without technique, even a Khanate stage adept would not be able to activate the sword sphere. "Big Brother, you recognize this thing?" Yun Lu asked in surprise. "You just said, it's called a sword sphere." "Xiao Lu, watch carefully." Zhou Donghuang smiled at Yun Lu, and then activated the qi in his body. Using a special technique, he infused the qi into the sword sphere in his hand. And after the qi was infused into the sword sphere, Zhou Donghuang felt a devouring force coming from the sword sphere, frantically devouring the qi in his body. Only when half of the qi in his body had been devoured did Zhou Donghuang stop supplying the qi to the sword sphere. Then, the sword sphere flashed in Zhou Donghuang's hand and turned into an unassuming small metal sword, which shone with a cold light that was visible to the naked eye. Swish! With a wave of Zhou Donghuang's hand, the small metal sword flew out and circled the bamboo forest. In an instant, it had cut all the bamboo with lightning speed, and then it turned back into a small metal ball and returned to his hand. That blow just now, no one below the Khanate stage can withstand it. Chapter 113. This, when she had first seen the small metal ball in the youth's hand turn into a small metal sword, Yunlu had been completely stunned, as if she had seen a ghost. In the blink of an eye, the small metal sword had disappeared, causing her to be stunned once again. It was only when the small metal sword turned back into a small metal ball and returned to the youth's hand that she regained her senses. At the same time, she heard a rustling sound next to her ear. She turned around and found that all the bamboos in the huge bamboo forest were broken, and the cuts were smooth. It was obvious that they had been cut by a sharp weapon. "Big brother, did you do this?" Yunlu stared at the youth in front of her, her face full of shock and disbelief. "More accurately, I did it with it." Zhou Donghuang weighed the small metal ball in his hand and smiled as he spoke. "It?" Yunlu stared at the small metal ball with wide eyes. "Big brother, did I see wrongly just now? I think I saw it suddenly turn into a sword." "You didn't see wrongly, it really did turn into a sword." Zhou Donghuang shook his head and smiled. "Xiao Lu, this small metal ball is a sword sphere. Logically, it should not have appeared in a small place like Yunyang country. I don't know where the ancestors of the Yun family obtained this sword sphere." "Sword sphere?" Yunlu's face was full of confusion. "On the way back, Big Brother will explain." Zhou Donghuang called out to Yunlu and carried her up the golden-crowned eagle Big Gold's back. But he soon realized that after a while, Big Gold did not move at all, as if it was in a daze. "Big Gold, let's go." Instantly, Zhou Donghuang impatiently urged Big Gold in the language of beasts, and the latter made a sound of assent before flapping its wings and rising into the air. However, as it soared into the sky, its sharp eyes were filled with terror. Just now, when the small metal ball in the youth's hand had turned into a small metal sword, it had been frightened. After witnessing the speed and destructive power of the small metal sword, it realized, if the youth had thrown that sword at it, it would definitely have died. "Young man, that thing just now, what was it? Why does it feel so scary?" Finally, Big Gold could not help but ask the youth, "Just now. I felt that I was completely powerless to resist. Even if I fly more than 100 meters in the air, as long as that sword can hit me, I feel that I won't be able to block it." Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly. "That strike just now, unless it is an adept who has entered the Khanate stage or a Khanate demon, anyone below the Khanate stage, unless it is an adept with special defensive gear or a demon with an extremely strong defense, would be killed in one blow." "So scary?" Big Gold sucked in a breath of cold air and its wings tightened. "What on earth is that thing?" "Sword pellet." As Zhou Donghuang introduced them to Big Gold, he also used human language to explain to the little girl in his arms. The sword sphere is something that only adepts of the primal core stage and above can produce. It requires the use of samadhi fire, which is condensed from inner yuan, in conjunction with special metals. Within the sword sphere, there are many complicated formations. Usually, the sword sphere is in the form of a metal sphere, and only when the formations are activated will it become a sword. And once the sword sphere is activated and becomes a sword, the more qi is injected into it, the stronger it is, and the more power it can display. "Wow! Big brother, you know so much better." Yunlu lifted her little head and looked at the youth with a face full of admiration. Xiao Lu, this sword sphere is temporarily not very useful in your hands, why don't you leave it with Big Brother and let him keep it for you? Zhou Donghuang asked as he smiled and stroked the girl's head. The sword sphere belonged to the girl, and if she insisted on taking it back, no matter how much he was tempted, he would not force her. The sword sphere was only of some use to him before he entered the primal core stage, but once he did, the sword sphere would be no different from scrap metal. In fact, if he wanted to, he could produce a large number of sword spheres by himself. Of course, the prerequisite was that he could obtain the special metals needed to produce the sword sphere. Otherwise, even if he had the ability to produce the sword sphere, he would not be able to do so. Big Brother, I wanted to give it to you anyway, the girl giggled. Originally, I was worried that it would be useless in your hands, Big Brother, but now that I know it can help you, Xiao Lu is very happy. Not only can this sword sphere help you now, but it can also be of great help. Zhou Donghuang looked at the girl and smiled affectionately. Now that he had the sword sphere, it was not much different from playing games on Earth. Of course, the sword sphere could not be used indiscriminately. After all, each use of the sword sphere required a large amount of qi, and if only a small amount of qi was injected into the sword sphere, it would not have much power. With big gold speed, it took only 2 days for Duan Ling Tian to bring Yunlu back to the Chu royal city, to the backyard of room number 3 of Chuxiu Inn. By the time they returned to Chuxiu Inn, it was already late at night, and the backyard was so dark that they could not even see their fingers. Young Master, Big Brother. The golden-crowned eagle, Little Gold, had been lying lazily in the backyard, dozing off, but when he saw that his young master and Big Brother had returned, he immediately stood up with a shiver. Golden-crowned eagles had very good night vision, and even without light, Little Gold could still see very clearly. After Zhou Donghuang left with Yunlu, Big Gold looked at Little Gold and told him about the sword sphere, which gave Little Gold such a fright that he could not help but shiver. That means, with young master's current ability, if he activates the sword sphere with all his might, even an ordinary Khanate stage adept or Khanate stage demon would not be able to escape death. After being frightened, Little Gold remembered that the person who possessed the sword sphere was its young master and not anyone else, and its eyes lit up even more. You idiot, don't you think it's strange that young master even knows how to activate a sword sphere? Big Gold said exasperatedly. That's right, it's a little strange. With Big Gold's reminder, Little Gold finally reacted. Furthermore, the chi-gathering elixir that young master has is far better than the ones that we snatched in the past. The best of the chi-gathering elixirs that we snatched in the past could only increase the sensitivity to chi by 1-fold, but the chi-gathering elixir that he gave us can increase the sensitivity to chi by 10 times. Little Gold said. These 2 days, I have a very strong feeling, that if we follow him, perhaps the Khanate stage will not be the end of our lives. Big Gold muttered. Big Brother, what you mean is that, if we follow young master, we may even have a chance to enter the legendary Primal Core stage and become Primal Core demons? Little Gold sucked in a cold breath. After Zhou Donghuang brought Yunlu back, he went to look for Fu and found out that Fu had booked the second guest house next door for Freezing Wind, Zhou Han, and Zhou Feng. He also moved in with them. Young master, I have already arranged for madam to stay in this room. The largest master room in the middle of the second guest house is reserved for you. Fu said. As for young mistress, she can stay with madam, or she can stay in the room that young mistress Ren previously stayed in. Fu said again. Very well arranged. Zhou Donghuang nodded in satisfaction. Xiao Lu, mother must be asleep by now, you can sleep in this room first, tomorrow, I will come look for you and mother. Zhou Donghuang smiled at Yunlu as he pointed to the room that young mistress Ren Jiape had previously slept in. Yunlu nodded sensibly, then watched as Zhou Donghuang and Fu walked out of the main door of the guest house before returning to her room and closing the door. Young master. After entering the second guest house next door, Fu looked at Zhou Donghuang and frowned slightly. I have heard from Big Brother Leng about the Fan family in Tianqiu City. The Fan family is related by marriage to the Chu royal family, and the wife of the current king of the Chu royal family, the consort, is the elder sister of the current chief of the Fan family, Fan Cheng. Now, Fan Cheng is dead, and the Fan family has been destroyed. In a few days at most, the news will reach the Chu royal city and the Chu royal family. When that time comes, the Chu royal family will investigate, and they will know that it was the two golden-crowned eagles who did it. And a few days ago, the two golden-crowned eagles arrived at the Tang family house to take you away, and many people saw it. This Chuxiu Inn is a subsidiary property of the Chu royal family. If we continue to stay here, will we be putting ourselves in danger? As Fu said this, his eyes were full of fear. That day, when I left the Tang family house, the chief of the Tang family, Tang Liuyan, reminded me, there is a great consummation adept in the Chu royal family, and he asked me to tell you to be careful. Obviously, Tang Liuyan had already expected that Zhou Donghuang would offend the Fan family, and thus the Chu royal family. A great consummation adept? Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly. Even without the sword sphere, even if the Chu royal family had a great consummation adept, he would not be afraid, much less now that he had the sword sphere. His current level of practice was already close to great consummation of the Qi gathering, and coupled with the extreme strength of his muscles, he could unleash power comparable to that of an ordinary great consummation adept. With the various first-grade techniques in his memory, and the Qi increasing elixir made from the gallbladder of the grizzly bear, in the country of Yunyang, there was not a single adept below the Khanate stage who could be his match. Fu understands. Seeing the confident smile on his young master's face, Fu's expression changed, and the fear in his eyes disappeared, and he regained his composure. Seeing his young master like this, he knew his young master was not afraid of the Chu royal family. Since that was the case, he had nothing to worry about. 3 days later, the news of the Fan family of Tianqiu City being destroyed finally reached the Chu royal family, and even spread through the streets and alleys of the Chu royal city. Immediately, the entire Chu royal city was shaken. The Fan family of Tianqiu City has been destroyed? My God! Who did this? Does the perpetrator not know the relationship between the Fan family and the Chu royal family? Chapter 114. The Tang family household. The Fan family has been wiped out? Everyone in the clan was killed by the bird-type demonic beast. Hearing the news from Tianqiu City, the patriarch of the tycoon Tang family, Tang Liuyan, was stunned. He knew that the youth's trip would definitely provoke the Fan family and offend the Chu royal family, but he had never imagined that the youth's trip to Tianqiu City would actually wipe out the Fan family. That was a superior tycoon family that was no weaker than the Tang family. Patriarch, do you think it was young Master Donghuang's doing? The second elder of the Tang family, Tang Yong, asked. Besides him, do you think it could be anyone else? Tang Liuyan smiled bitterly. Furthermore, the news from that side said that the entire Fan family died at the hands of flying demons. He must have ordered the two golden-crowned eagles to do it. Two flying demons of petty consummation of the Qi gathering could easily destroy the Fan family. Tang Liuyan shook his head as he spoke. Is he not afraid of offending the Chu royal family? Tang Yong smiled bitterly. The Chu royal family? Tang Liuyan shook his head. Even if the Chu royal family knew that he was behind this, they might not dare to make trouble for him, even if he is staying in the Chuxiu Inn under the Chu royal family. Although there is a great consummation adept in the Chu royal family, can he do anything to the two golden-crowned eagles? As long as young Master Donghuang gives the order, the great consummation adept of the Chu royal family can only watch helplessly as the men of the Chu royal family are slaughtered by the two golden-crowned eagles. Unless they have the confidence to kill young Master Donghuang first, but who knows if the two golden-crowned eagles will continue to attack the men of the Chu royal family after they kill young Master Donghuang. That year, the great consummation adept that the imperial court of Yunyang specially sent to deal with the 2 golden-crowned eagles was even more powerful than the great consummation adept of the Chu royal family, but he still could not do anything to the 2 golden-crowned eagles. Not only could he not do anything to the 2 golden-crowned eagles, but several of the petty consummation and level 9 adepts who accompanied him died. From the beginning to the end, the great consummation adept of the Yunyang imperial court could only look on helplessly. Although he was furious, he could not do anything. I heard that he was so angry that he vomited blood. Obviously, Tang Lionian knew that the imperial court of Yunyang had sent men into the Lost Forest to deal with the 2 golden-crowned eagles. Can the Chu royal household just swallow this pain? Tang Yong was shocked. The Chu royal household will definitely not dare to make a move, but they will definitely not let this matter rest. If I were the king of the Chu royal household, would report this matter to the imperial court of Yunyang country and let it be resolved. If the imperial court of Yunyang takes action, the imperial court of Yunyang royal family, of Yunaf of dynasty, Yunyang, Yunyang of Yunyang of family. If the imperial court of Yunyang does not take action to resolve this matter, once the news spreads, their reputation will be tarnished. So, I guess, the imperial court of Yunyang will definitely take action against young master Dong Huang and the 2 golden-crowned eagles. Tang Lionian said with certainty. When the Tycoon Tang family received the news of the Fan family of Tianqiu City being wiped out, the other Tycoon families and even grand families in the Chu royal city also received the news. All of a sudden, the clans were shocked. Of course, it was not difficult for them to guess who had wiped out the Fan family. The scene of the 2 golden-crowned eagles descending from the Lost Forest that day at the Tang family banquet was still fresh in their minds. The entire Fan family was killed by flying demons. It must have been those 2 golden-crowned eagles. However, although they could be sure that the youth had something to do with the annihilation of the Fan family, most of the other families knew that even so, the Chu royal family would not dare to act against the youth. Regardless of the unfathomable background that the youth might have, the 2 golden-crowned eagles were enough to intimidate the Chu royal family into not daring to act rashly. If it had been 2 petty consummation beasts of the Qi-gathering level, it would still be manageable, and the newly advanced great consummation adept of the Chu royal family would be able to kill them. However, 2 petty consummation flying demons were not something that a great consummation adept of the Qi-gathering could easily kill. Unless the great consummation adept was skilled in long-range attacks, such as using a bow or other similar weapons, and he had to have a precious bow or a precious crossbow. This was because an ordinary crossbow would not be able to withstand the power of a great consummation adept, and would not be able to unleash the full power of a great consummation adept. The Chu royal family. As the ruler of the entire western ridge of the Chu king, the Chu royal family occupied a vast area, almost 10 times the size of the Tycoon Tang family's mansion. And now, the atmosphere in the great hall of the Chu royal family was extremely somber. At the head of the great hall, a middle-aged man wearing a dark gold robe embroidered with many 4-clawed golden dragons sat there, his expression as gloomy as still water. This middle-aged man was burly, with a broad face and fierce eyes, and he exuded a dignified aura. This middle-aged man was the current Chu king of the Chu royal family, Xiang Xiong. Now, beside Xiang Xiong stood a beautiful woman dressed in a dark gold phoenix robe, elegant and poised. The beautiful woman gave off the impression that she was not young, but her face was devoid of wrinkles, as if time had not left any traces on her face. However, the beautiful woman's face was still streaked with tears, and her beautiful eyes were red. It was obvious that she had just cried. And she was the wife of the Chu king, Xiang Xiong, the Chu royal consort, Fan Ji. Commander Shui, how is the investigation going? Xiang Xiong asked in a low voice as he looked at the middle-aged man standing closest to the front of the hall. The middle-aged man was about 50 years old, with a square face and a dignified expression. He wore silver light armor, and a long sword hung from his waist. And he was the commander of the Chu royal city guard, Shui Meng. He was also one of the petty consummation adepts of the Chu royal family. Your Highness, the investigation is basically complete. Faced with Xiang Xiong's question, Xue Meng hurriedly replied, that youth called Zhou Donghuang once saved the lives of the tycoon Tang family chief Tang Liuyan, as well as the head elder and second elder of the Tang family in the Lost Forest. And because of this, the Tang family specially held a banquet to thank him. During the banquet, the young man heard that his mother and sister had been kidnapped by the Tianqiu city's Fan family, so he summoned the 2 golden-crowned eagles from the Lost Forest. He rode the more powerful golden-crowned eagle and left the Tang family mansion. At this point, Xue Meng paused and looked at the Chu royal consort, Fan Ji, before continuing. The next afternoon, the entire Fan family was wiped out. Calculating the time, with the speed of the golden-crowned eagles, he indeed arrived at the Fan family around that time. Moreover, the fatal wounds on the bodies of the Fan family were all inflicted by flying demons. From this, we can conclude that the annihilation of the entire Fan family had something to do with that youth. At least, if not for the youth's orders, the 2 golden-crowned eagles would not have wiped out the entire Fan family for no reason. Xue Meng finished in one breath. Even the great consummation adept sent by the imperial court of Yunyang was helpless against the 2 golden-crowned eagles of the Lost Forest. A youth actually managed to subdue them? Xiang Xiong's expression was extremely ugly. Have you found out where that youth came from? Your Highness. Just then, an old man in a long grey robe stepped forward and said respectfully to Xiang Xiong, there is one person who knows the details of that youth's background. Who? Xiang Xiong looked at the old man with a piercing gaze. The first young master of the inferior tycoon Shi family, Shi Yu. The old man said, this morning, Shi Yu came to look for me and said that if your Highness wanted to know more about Zhou Donghuang, you could summon him to the Chu royal family. The first young master of the Shi family, Shi Yu? Xiang Xiong raised an eyebrow. In that case, 6th elder, please bring him here. Yes. The old man acknowledged and left. After the old man left, Xiang Xiong's gaze swept across the group of people in the great hall, including Xue Meng, and he said in a low voice, based on the current situation, that youth has extraordinary ability, and is at least a petty consummation adept of the Qi gathering. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to have killed the grizzly bear of the Lost Forest with a single blow, as the Tang family said. However, even if he was a great consummation adept, it would be almost impossible for him to subdue the 2 golden-crowned eagles with brute force, much less a petty consummation adept. Therefore, it is very likely that he has mastered some special method to subdue the 2 golden-crowned eagles. Even in the history of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, there has never been an adept of such ability at such a young age, much less in the country of Yunyang. He either has a formidable background, or he must have had some heaven-defying fortuitous encounter. As he spoke, Xiang Xiong's eyes burned with passion. Now, let's wait for the first young master of the Shi family, Shi Yu, to come and see if we can get any useful information. About 15 minutes later, 6th elder of the Chu royal family returned with a youth in embroidered robes. This youth in embroidered robes was none other than the head elder of the tycoon Shi family, Shi Yu. Greetings, Your Highness, Your Highness. After Shi Yu entered, he bowed respectfully to Xiang Xiong and Fan Ji. Shi Yu, I heard that you know about Zhou Donghuang's background? Xiang Xiong asked straightforwardly. Without waiting for Shi Yu to speak, he continued, if you can provide valuable information, the Chu royal family will not mistreat you. Your Highness, my father, Shi Hao, was killed by Zhou Donghuang. Shi Yu's expression darkened slightly, and he said angrily, after that, I sent people to the inferior prefecture capital of Yunfeng Prefecture to investigate Zhou Donghuang's background. Chapter 115. They split up to investigate, but the results were the same, that Zhou Donghuang had just turned 18 this year, was born and raised in the inferior-level Yunfeng Prefecture, and did not have much background. Shi Yu paused for a moment. Yunfeng Prefecture? Inferior level prefecture? Born and raised here? After hearing Shi Yu's words, the entire hall fell silent. From the Chu King Xiang Xiong and the Chu royal consort Fan Ji to the commander of the Chu royal city guard Shui Meng and the elders of the Chu royal household, everyone was stunned. The youth who had tamed the 2 golden-crowned eagles of the Lost Forest and destroyed the entire Fan family of Tianqiu City was only born and raised in an inferior-level prefecture? That's impossible. Shui Meng was the first to recover and shook his head. For someone born and raised in an inferior-level prefecture to attain level 6 of Qi gathering in his lifetime, he would already be considered a genius. How could he have achieved this? I think it's impossible too. Impossible. Following Shui Meng's words, the elders of the Chu royal household all shook their heads, their faces full of disbelief. What a joke! Someone born and raised in an inferior-level prefecture, and a youth who had just turned 18, was already a petty consummation adept of the Qi gathering? Who would believe that? What proof do you have? Xiang Xiong stared coldly at Shi Yu, his voice even colder. Do you know that if you lie to me, not only will you have to pay the price, but the Shi family behind you will also have to pay the price? Your Highness. Shi Yu knelt on the ground with a thud and said seriously, in front of your Highness, Shi Yu naturally would not dare to lie. Everything Shi Yu says is the truth. If your Highness does not believe me, you can send someone to the inferior-level Yunfeng prefecture to investigate. That Zhou Donghuang was adopted by his adoptive mother, Lin Lan, when he was still a baby, and Lin Lan is a collateral descendant of the preeminent Lin family of Yunfeng prefecture. She was sent to a small town in Yunfeng prefecture to run a guild long ago. That small town is called Qingshan Town, and Lin Lan's guild is called the Magnolia Guild. Everyone in the capital of Yunfeng prefecture knows about this. In fact, in Yunfeng prefecture, Zhou Donghuang is a legendary figure, because he is just a youth from a small town, but in such a short period of time, he has caused a huge stir in Yunfeng prefecture with his various achievements. After Shi Yu had finished speaking, he said solemnly, if there is any falsehood in what I have said, after the Chu royal family investigates, even if they cut me into 1,000 pieces, I have nothing to say. Following Shi Yu's words, the large hall once again fell into a deathly silence. Prince. Finally, Shui Meng cupped his hands towards Xiang Xiong. I am willing to personally make a trip to Yunfeng prefecture to find out more about Zhou Donghuang and see if he is really as Shi Yu said. Sorry to trouble you, Commander Shui. Following Xiang Xiong's nod, Shui Meng turned around and left in a hurry. Prince. After Shui Meng had left, Shi Yu once again looked at Xiang Xiong and said seriously, I suspect that Zhou Donghuang may have obtained an opportunity left behind by a legendary primal core adept, which is why he could have such a level of practice at such a young age and tame the 2 golden-crowned eagles of the Lost Forest. Primal core adept. Hearing Shi Yu's words, Xiang Xiong's eyes narrowed. If everything that Shi Yu said was true, then, it was really possible. Otherwise, there was no other way to explain how a native of an inferior prefecture could have a level of practice that was at least at the level of petty consummation of the Qi gathering at such a young age. Alright, you may leave. Just as Fan Ji and the group of Chu royal family elders were stunned by Shi Yu's words, Xiang Xiong waved his hand and said, if Commander Shui returns and proves that what you have said is true, the Chu royal family will not mistreat you and the Shi family. Thank you, Prince. Shi Yu thanked him respectfully, stood up, and turned to leave. After leaving the great hall, a maniacal smile appeared on Shi Yu's face. Zhou Donghuang, you killed my father, I will destroy you too. If the Chu royal family cannot do anything to you, there is still the imperial court of Yunyang. Even if the imperial court cannot do anything to you, there is still the Valley of the Medicine Masters. I do not believe that the Valley of the Medicine Masters cannot do anything to you. After Shi Yu had left, Xiang Xiong immediately ordered, Second Elder, head to the imperial city as quickly as possible and report this matter to the imperial court, so that the imperial court can send people to deal with Zhou Donghuang and the 2 golden-crowned eagles. Also, report everything that Shiryu has said to the imperial court." Xiang Xiong said gravely. "Prince." The second elder of the Chu royal family hesitated. "If what Shiryu has said is true, and that Zhou Donghuang has really obtained an opportunity left behind by a primal core adept, if we report this to the imperial court, won't the Chu royal family have a share?" "Foolish." Xiang Xiong shook his head, and a bitter smile appeared on his face. "Do you think that, even if what Shiryu has said is true, with the power of the Chu royal family, can we take down that youth? Although father has attained great consummation of the Qi gathering a few years ago, and has become a great consummation adept, he still cannot do anything to those 2 golden-crowned eagles. Unless the Chu royal family has absolute confidence, we cannot have a direct confrontation with that youth." As he said this, a wise light flashed in Xiang Xiong's eyes. Of course, there was still a look of indignation on his face. But there was nothing he could do even if he was indignant. Based on the current situation, that youth was too strong, and he was completely beyond the control of the Chu royal family. "Prince, as far as I know, he is staying in the Chuxiu Inn under the Chu royal family." The Chu royal consort, Fan Ji, who was standing beside Xiang Xiong, said coldly, "Should we try to poison him?" "No." However, Fan Ji's suggestion was immediately refuted by Xiang Xiong. "Not to mention the fact that the probability of success is very low, even if we poison him, what would the Chu royal family gain? Who knows, we might even suffer the revenge of those 2 golden-crowned eagles. You might be able to poison Zhou Donghuang to death, but you can't poison those 2 golden-crowned eagles. As demons, they are very sensitive to any poison." Zhou Donghuang naturally did not know what was happening in the Chu royal family. Of course, the news of the extermination of the Fan family of Tianqiu City had spread like wildfire in the Chu royal city, and he had heard of it, but he did not care. Now, what troubled him was, his mother, Lin Lan, seemed to like Yang Zishi very much, and after finding out that Yang Zishi was interested in him, she could not wait to bring him and Yang Zishi together. "Donghuang, what's so bad about Zishi? Not only is she pretty, but she also has a good figure and a big butt. After you marry her, she will definitely give me a fat grandson." Lin Lan could not understand her son. "Where can I find such a good wife? Why don't you take it for granted? Xiao Lu, don't you agree?" Early that morning, Lin Lan had brought Yun Lu to the second courtyard where Zhou Donghuang was staying and had thrown a bunch of questions at Zhou Donghuang. "Brother, I also think Sister Zishi is very good. Why don't you marry her and make her my sister-in-law?" Yun Lu said with a grin. "Get lost. You little girl, what do you know?" Zhou Donghuang glared at Yun Lu and smiled bitterly at Lin Lan. "Mother, have you forgotten about Chen Dandan? Now, do you still want to pick a couple?" Lin Lan fell silent at Zhou Donghuang's words. Back then, she had almost forced Zhou Donghuang to marry Chen Dandan when he came of age, but after that, Chen Dandan had heartlessly betrayed her and her son. Before she left, she had even called her son Zhou Donghuang useless trash. "Donghuang, Zishi is different, don't compare her to Chen Dandan. Chen Dandan is not worthy." After a moment, Lin Lan took a deep breath, her tone softening. "Mother, of course I know that Chen Dandan cannot be compared to Zishi. But I really have no such intentions towards Zishi. Just like Chen Dandan back then, I only see her as a younger sister." Zhou Donghuang smiled bitterly. "Also, I already have someone in my heart." Seeing that Lin Lan seemed to want to continue, Zhou Donghuang immediately used his killer move. At the same time, the image of a beautiful woman that he could not shake off appeared in his mind. You, what's your name?" I'm Luo Qinghan." The scene that had happened in the Lost Forest that day was right before his eyes. Although it was an accident, it was that accident that had left the girl named Luo Qinghan in his heart, imprinted in his mind, and unforgettable. Every time he had free time, he could not help but think of her. I wonder, if she, in her spare time, will also think of me like me? Zhou Donghuang thought expectantly. Wow! Just as Lin Lan was stunned by Zhou Donghuang's words, Yunlu had already cried out, her eyes shining. Big brother, no wonder when I see you in a daze, you can't help but smile, and your gaze becomes very gentle. That gentleness is different from when you look at me and mother. You, at that time, were you thinking of that sister? No. Were you thinking of my sister-in-law? Yunlu looked at Zhou Donghuang excitedly, as if she had discovered a new continent. You little girl, so mischievous. Zhou Donghuang, who had been seen through by Yunlu, glared at her angrily and stretched out his hand to grab her. Mother! Big brother is angry. Yunlu hid behind Lin Lan and made a face at Zhou Donghuang. Stupid big brother, I must have guessed correctly, right? Big brother, when will you bring sister-in-law over for mother and me to see? Is she as pretty as Sister Zishi? Also, is she from the Chu royal city? Chapter 116. Donghuang, is what you said true? Lin Lan looked at Zhou Donghuang seriously, clearly wanting to confirm the veracity of Zhou Donghuang's words. Yes. Zhou Donghuang nodded seriously as well. Which family is she from? After receiving Zhou Donghuang's confirmation, Lin Lan's eyes lit up, and she asked eagerly, is she from a noble family? Or is she from an ordinary family? You are already 18 years old and of age, you can get married now. If you and she are in love, how about I pay a visit to her family one day? Then, we can give you a betrothal gift and choose an auspicious date to marry her. Lin Lan could not wait for Zhou Donghuang to get married immediately and give her a big, fat grandson. Mother, she is not from this planet. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. Not from this planet? What do you mean? Lin Lan frowned. What I mean is that she is not from the planet of Ziyun. Zhou Donghuang smiled bitterly. Not from the planet of Ziyun? You mean, she is from another planet? Lin Lan's eyes narrowed. But according to what I know, only the legendary primal core adepts have the ability to leave Ziyun and go to other planets. You can't be thinking of telling me that she is a mighty martial artist who has entered the primal core stage? Lin Lan asked. Yes. Zhou Donghuang nodded seriously. Donghuang, your abilities, don't tell me they came from her? Lin Lan gasped as she asked. Hearing this, Zhou Donghuang was stunned. He had never imagined that his mother would link his abilities to Luo Qinghan. However, when he thought about it, he felt relieved. Based on his current performance, it was indeed not normal, and if he was related to a primal core adept, it would be logical. Yes. Zhou Donghuang nodded. After receiving Zhou Donghuang's confirmation, Lin Lan frowned again. Donghuang, since she is a primal core adept, how old would she be? As far as I know, the mighty martial artists on the planet of Ziyun who have reached the primal core stage are basically all over 100 years old. The younger ones are already close to 100 years old. Although those who have entered the primal core stage have broken through the shackles of their lifespan and can live up to 300 years, but if they are too old, won't it still affect their fertility? Lin Lan voiced out her concerns. Mother. Zhou Donghuang laughed bitterly. He really had to give in to his mother now. She's not that old. At most, she's 2 or 3 years older than me. He's older than you by 2 or 3 years, yet he already reached the primal core stage. Do you think I'm stupid? Lin Lan said impatiently, obviously not believing what Zhou Donghuang had said. Mom, you told me 2 days ago in Tianqiu City, there's always someone better than you. Zhou Donghuang's expression turned serious. On some of the planets outside of Ziyun, not to mention 20-year-old primal core adepts, even 10-year-old primal core adepts exist. With great difficulty, he managed to fool his mother. Using training as an excuse, he escaped to his room and sat cross-legged on his bed. However, he could not calm himself down to train. As for Luo Qinghan, even he himself did not know what kind of feelings he had for her. Was it responsibility? Or had he really fallen in love with her? The former was understandable, but the latter was a little mysterious. After all, they had only met once and did not know each other well. As someone who had been single for 1,000 years in his previous life, Zhou Donghuang still did not know much about relationships. The country of Yunyang ruled over a country. The ruler of Yunyang was the imperial court of Yunyang, the Jiang family. For a country like Yunyang, the central city was the imperial city, and the imperial city was also known as the Yunyang Imperial City. The imperial court of Yunyang was located in the Yunyang Imperial City. As the ruler of Yunyang, the Jiang family of the imperial court of Yunyang had a high status. Even the various royal palaces of Yunyang were only treated as retainers by the Jiang family. As the saying went, everywhere under the heavens belonged to the imperial court, everywhere on the land belonged to the imperial court. And now, in the throne room of the Yunyang Imperial Palace, the atmosphere was somewhat solemn. All this was because of the arrival of one person. The person who had rushed all the way from the Chu royal city of the western ridge of the Chu king was the second elder of the Chu royal household, Xiang Donghua, who had just arrived at the Yunyang Imperial Palace. Although Xiang Donghua was a petty consummation adept of the Qi gathering, he did not even dare to breathe as he stood in the throne room. This was because everyone present, including the person sitting on the throne room's dragon chair, was a great consummation adept of the Qi gathering. In front of these people, he, a mere petty consummation adept of the Qi gathering, was nothing at all. It was even to the extent that any one of them could easily crush him to death. I have basically understood everything. The middle-aged man sitting on the dragon throne in the throne room was wearing a dragon robe embroidered with 9 5-clawed golden dragons. His face was firm and dignified, with thick eyebrows and big eyes. His sword-like eyebrows were like the finishing touch of a painting, adding a hint of coldness to his entire being. He was the Emperor of Yunyang, the current patriarch of the Jiang family of the Imperial Court of Yunyang, Jiang Tianchen. He was also one of the many great consummation adepts of the Yunyang Imperial Court. Commander Xiao. Jiang Tianchen's gaze fell on a middle-aged man dressed in dark gold armor. The middle-aged man looked to be in his 60s, and not only was his hair half white, even his beard was half white. He had thick brows and large eyes, and he exuded an aura of authority. He was the commander of the Imperial Guard of the Yunyang Imperial Court, Xiao Jiancheng. He was also a great consummation adept of the Qi gathering who had made a name for himself in the country of Yunyang many years ago. I remember, 4 years ago, I sent you to the western ridge of the Chu king, to the Lost Forest, to kill those 2 golden-crowned eagles. But that time, not only did you return empty-handed, but even a few of your companions died. Jiang Tianchen looked deeply into Xiao Jiancheng's eyes. I've also heard that for the past 4 years, you've been diligently practicing the art of the bow. You've even paid a huge price to exchange it for a second-rate archery technique, penetrating rainbow, from the second elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Are you confident of killing those 2 golden-crowned eagles now? Jiang Tianchen asked. Second-grade technique? As Jiang Tianchen spoke, not only the second elder of the Chu royal family, Xiang Donghua, but the other people present all turned to look at Xiao Jiancheng. Commander Xiao, you actually managed to exchange for a second-grade technique from the second elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters? And it is an archery technique at that? It looks like you are still holding on to the incident 4 years ago. Second-grade technique. Commander Xiao, even if you are on good terms with the second elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, you must have spent a great deal of effort to exchange for that second-grade archery technique? Commander Xiao, in these 4 years, I have never heard you mention this matter. You have hidden it well. The other great consummation adepts of the Imperial Court of Yunyang sighed as they spoke, evidently just finding out about this matter. With Commander Zhao's ability, and the second-grade archery technique, penetrating rainbow, the 2 golden-crowned eagles of the Lost Forest should not be a problem. The second elder of the Chu royal family, Xiang Donghua, looked at Xiao Jiancheng with shining eyes, as if he could already see the 2 golden-crowned eagles being killed by the person before him. Your Majesty. Xiao Jiancheng's expression darkened. In front of you, I dare not boast. With my current level of archery, even with the second-grade archery technique, penetrating rainbow, I only have a 50% chance of defeating those 2 golden-crowned eagles. If you give me a few more years. Before Xiao Jiancheng could finish, Jiang Tianchen interrupted him. I can't wait that long. Xiao Jiancheng smiled bitterly. If I lend you the Imperial Court's Cloud Condor, how confident are you? Jiang Tianchen asked. Cloud Condor? Xiao Jiancheng's eyes lit up, and he immediately declared, Your Majesty, with the Cloud Condor, I have 100% chance of killing those 2 golden-crowned eagles. The Cloud Condor was a flying demon reared by the Imperial Court of Yunyang, and like the golden-crowned eagles, it was a petty consummation demon. Moreover, the Cloud Condor's speed was comparable to that of the 2 golden-crowned eagles. However, if the Cloud Condor were to engage the 2 golden-crowned eagles in a fight to the death, any one of the eagles would be able to kill it. This was because the golden-crowned eagles grew up in the Lost Forest, and they were terrifyingly wild. It could be said that they had grown to this stage through slaughter. Compared to the golden-crowned eagles, the Cloud Condor was like a flower in a greenhouse. In terms of speed, it was no slower than the golden-crowned eagles, but in a fight to the death, it was no match for the golden-crowned eagles. With the speed of the Cloud Condor and Commander Zhao's ability, those 2 golden-crowned eagles are nothing to worry about. So what if that young man is a great consummation adept? Could he be stronger than Commander Xiao, who attained great consummation of the Qi gathering 10 years ago? Commander Xiao and the Cloud Condor will definitely return victorious. The other people in the throne room spoke again, as if they could already see Xiao Jianping's triumphant return. The second elder of the Chu royal household, Xiang Donghua, stood to one side, his eyes shining with excitement. With Commander Xiao and the Cloud Condor working together, wouldn't it be a piece of cake to deal with the 2 golden-crowned eagles? Commander Xiao. Hearing Xiao Jiancheng's confident words, Jiang Tianchen nodded his head in satisfaction, and then added, if that young man named Zhou Donghuang is really just someone born and raised in an inferior prefecture, do your best to keep him alive and bring him back to the imperial city. Because, it is very likely that he has really obtained a treasure left behind by a primal core adept. As he spoke, the eyes of Jiang Tianchen, the emperor of Yunyang country, also shone with a passionate light. Chapter 117. P.S. It was actually published at midnight on New Year's Day. The first chapter was supposed to be published, but I was stuck at the end of 2018. Hehe, consider it a New Year's gift to everyone. I hope everyone can support the official subscription. A few dollars a month is equivalent to buying me a bottle of water or a bowl of instant noodles. It will allow me to continue writing seriously. Thank you. Here is the main text. As petty consummation adepts, both the second elder of the Chu royal household, Xiang Donghua, and the commander of the Chu royal city guard, Shui Meng, had their own demon mounts. For example, Xiang Donghua's mount was a level 7 demon, lightning leopard. Even without qi, its speed was many times faster than a Fergana horse. Shui Meng's mount was a level 8 demon, sharp-toothed tiger, which was even faster than Xiang Donghua's lightning leopard. Furthermore, the distance between the Chu royal city and the inferior prefecture capital of Yunfeng prefecture was much closer than the distance between the Chu royal city and the imperial city of Yunyang country. Therefore, Xue Meng returned to the Chu royal city first. Your Highness. As soon as Xue Meng returned to the Chu royal city, he immediately returned to the Chu royal household to report to the Chu king, Xiang Xiong, on his findings. I have investigated thoroughly, everything is as the first young master of the Shi family, Shi Yu, said. That Zhou Donghuang was indeed born and raised in Yunfeng prefecture. Furthermore, he did not grow up in the capital of Yunfeng prefecture, but in a small town. I visited that small town and asked many people. They all said that they watched Zhou Donghuang grow up with their own eyes. Furthermore, that Zhou Donghuang was publicly known as a martial invalid in that small town more than a year ago. He only began to display his martial ability at the end of year 1227 of the Ziyun era. After that, in just a few months, he had become someone that even the governor of Yunfeng prefecture feared, and he had become a celebrity in Yunfeng prefecture. On the 1st of April 1228 of the Ziyun era, he left the inferior prefecture capital of Yunfeng prefecture and headed for the imperial city. A month later, he single-handedly defeated 4 level 6 adepts of the Wu family in the governor's household of the intermediate level Guangling prefecture, shocking the Wu family. On the 9th day of the 9th month, 1228 of the Ziyun era, he arrived at the royal city. As for what happened next, Your Highness, you already know about it. In the span of 2 whole months, Xue Meng had gone back and forth between the Chu royal city and the capital of Yunfeng prefecture to investigate Zhou Donghuang's background. After listening to Xue Meng, Xiang Xiong was silent for a while. After a long while, he said unhurriedly, more than a year ago, he was still a martial arts cripple? Is it an act? Xiang Xiong looked at Xue Meng and asked. I don't think so. Xue Meng shook his head. Should? Xiang Xiong frowned. Your Highness, do you think that with that young man's strong character, would he have pretended to be powerless when he was humiliated and bullied more than a year ago? Xue Meng asked. In the small town where he was born and raised, there was a lesser family disciple who bullied him for many years. A year and a half ago, he was always on the losing end because he did not have qi in his body. More accurately, he could not cultivate qi. Until the end of 1227, that lesser family disciple tried to humiliate him on the streets again. That time, he acted forcefully and crippled that grand family disciple's arm. Because of this, I specially went to look for that grand family disciple. He said that Zhou Donghuang crippled him in December 1227, and at the end of November 1227, he had also humiliated Zhou Donghuang once, and just like before, Zhou Donghuang wanted to retaliate but was powerless. That is to say, before December 1227, that Zhou Donghuang was indeed a martial arts cripple. Following Xue Meng's words, both Xue Meng and Xiang Xiong, the Chu king who controlled the western ridge of the Chu king, realized something very frightening. The young man named Zhou Donghuang should have only started practicing in the beginning of December 1227, if there were no accidents. In just 10 days to half a month, he had the ability to kill a level 2 adept with a single blow. In just 3 months, he could even kill a level 4 adept. Now, in less than 2 years since he started practicing, he was suspected to have attained petty consummation of the qi gathering, or even great consummation of the qi gathering. In less than 2 years, starting from 0, he has achieved petty consummation of the qi gathering, or even great consummation of the qi gathering. At this moment, even Xiang Xiong, who was the number 1 figure in the western ridge of the Chu king, could not help but tremble. After a long while, he looked at Xue Meng and took a deep breath. With some difficulty, he asked, Xue Meng, what kind of fortuitous encounter do you think would allow a kid who came from a remote and desolate place to grow to such an extent in less than 2 years? This rate of growth can only be described as nature-defying. Your Highness, don't you already have an answer? Xue Meng smiled bitterly. Besides the legendary Primal Core Adept, I really can't think of anything that could make that young man grow to such a level in less than 2 years. The Primal Core Adept left behind a Primal Core Adept. Xiang Xiong's eyes flashed, and he shook his head with a bitter smile. It's a pity that we did not discover this secret of his earlier. If we had discovered it before he grew up, the Chu royal family would have been able to swallow him up ourselves. But now, he has grown too quickly, and the Chu royal family is no longer able to swallow him up. We can only hope that after the imperial court of Yunyang has swallowed him up, they will leave us some scraps. As he spoke, Xiang Xiong sighed repeatedly. I wonder, who the imperial court of Yunyang will send this time. Xue Meng's eyes shone with curiosity. Chuxiu Inn. In the courtyard of the second guest house. In the largest master bedroom, the young man sat cross-legged on the bed. During this period of time, my progress has been quite good. In at most 3 months, I should be able to attain great consummation of the qi gathering. It had been a full 2 months since Zhou Donghuang had returned from Tianqiu City. It was now the 19th of March 1229 of the Ziyun era. Zhou Donghuang did not allow Freezing Wind, Zhou Han, and Zhou Feng to leave for the time being. He allowed them to stay by his side in the second guest house of Chuxiu Inn to practice. In the past, he had wanted the 3 of them to expand their influence because he had not expected his own ability to improve so quickly. With his current ability, there was no longer any meaning for the 3 of them to expand their influence in the country of Yunyang. It was better to stay by his side and focus on practicing. Young master, Lady Jiape is here to see you. Suddenly, Fu's voice came from outside the door, and Zhou Donghuang could not help but be surprised. Lady Ren? Ever since the end of the year 1228 of the Ziyun era, when he had gone with Ren Jiape to the grand family gathering at the Wei family mansion, he had not seen Ren Jiape again. Even at the Tang family banquet 2 months ago, he had only seen Ren Qiong, the head elder of the Ren family, and the man he suspected to be Ren Jiape's father, the patriarch of the Ren family. Ren. Lady Ren? Leaping off the bed, Zhou Donghuang pushed open the door and saw Ren Jiape once again. With just one look, Zhou Donghuang almost could not recognize the young girl before him. Right now, Ren Jiape's face was as pale as a sheet of paper. She was listless and seemed to have lost a lot of weight. She was no longer as valiant and formidable as before. She stood there alone, lovely and charming. Big brother Zhou, can you stop calling me Lady Ren? If you can call sister Zishi Zishi, can't you call me Jiape? Hearing the young man call her that, the young girl's eyes dimmed, and she forced a smile. Sure. Jiape. Looking at the young girl now, Zhou Donghuang could not bring himself to reject her. Moreover, he had always had a good impression of this young girl. However, the way the young girl looked at him now made him realize something. He suddenly felt that, after not seeing the young girl for more than 3 months, it was probably because of him. First it was Zishi, and now there's Jiape. This is really a headache. Now, from the way the young girl looked at him, it was not difficult for Zhou Donghuang to discover the special feelings she had for him. This was because the way she looked at him was no different from the way young Zishi looked at him. Run. Jiape, I haven't seen you in a long time. What's the matter? Zhou Donghuang deliberately avoided Ren Jiape's gaze and asked with a smile. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's question, Ren Jiape's expression immediately turned serious. Big brother Zhou, I'm here this time to tell you something. Today, the patriarch of the Tycoon Tang family, Tang Liunian, suddenly came to my house. When my father received him, he asked me to go over. Then, in front of me, he mentioned to my father that the Chu royal family had not done anything to you in this period of time. He said that he guessed that the Chu royal family would not dare to touch you. However, the Chu royal family would definitely not let this matter rest, and would definitely send someone to inform the imperial court of Yunyang. He also said that if the imperial court of Yunyang were to send someone, they would definitely send someone who is confident in dealing with you. At this point, Ren Jiape's expression turned anxious. Big brother Zhou, why don't you leave the Chu royal city and lie low for a while? With the speed of the 2 golden-crowned eagles beside you, you would definitely be able to hide well and not be discovered before the imperial court of Yunyang arrives. Ren Jiapei's words let Zhou Donghuang know why she had come, and she advised him to leave the Chu royal city and lie low. That Tang Liuyan is quite interesting. He did not dare come to warn me, but went to the Ren family to look for you and ask you to pass the message to me. Zhou Donghuang shook his head and smiled. Big brother Zhou, did you hear what I said? Ren Jiapei said with a serious expression, if the imperial court of Yunyang were to send someone, they would definitely be confident in dealing with the 2 golden-crowned eagles beside you. You are not afraid of the Chu royal family, but the imperial court of Yunyang, as the ruler of Yunyang, is far from what the Chu royal family can compare to. Although it is widely rumored that the strongest person in the imperial court of Yunyang is a great consummation adept of the Qi gathering, it is also widely rumored that the strongest person in the Chu royal family is only a petty consummation adept of the Qi gathering. In fact, the Chu royal family has a great consummation adept of the Qi gathering. Chapter 118. Chief Tang said that the imperial court of Yunyang may have a Khanate stage adept. Ren Jiapei said to Zhou Donghuang gravely, he also said that the country of Yunyang also keeps a petty consummation demon, the Cloud Condor, regardless of Khanate adepts. That Cloud Condor is no slower than the golden-crowned eagles. If the imperial court of Yunyang sends a powerful great consummation adept of the Qi gathering along with the Cloud Condor, Big Brother Zhou's 2 golden-crowned eagles will no longer have any advantage. Ren Jiapei tried her best to persuade Zhou Donghuang, just short of personally pushing him out of the Chu royal city gates so that he could lie low for a while. Jiapei, thank you for reminding me of this. However, hearing Ren Jiapei's words, Zhou Donghuang only smiled lightly. However, if the imperial court of Yunyang is only as powerful as you say, I feel that it is not enough for me to leave the Chu royal city to lie low. Yunfeng Prefecture. The prefecture capital. I'm finally back. A middle-aged man dressed in a loose, luxurious green robe walked into the county city on a Fergana horse with a weary expression. He was recognized by many people as soon as he entered the county city. It's the chief of the preeminent Hong family, Hong Wei. Greetings, Chief Hong. Greetings, Chief Hong. Many passers-by greeted the middle-aged man on the Fergana horse. From the way the passers-by addressed the middle-aged man, he was obviously the patriarch of the preeminent Hong family of Yunfeng Prefecture, Hong Wei. I heard that the son of Chief Hong, the first young master of the Hong family, Hong Yunfei, has entered the Valley of the Medicine Masters. I wonder if that's true. The Valley of the Medicine Masters? That powerful sect with a Khanate stage adept that is above the country of Yunyang? That's the Valley of the Medicine Masters. I heard that the 16 countries of the East Valley, including Yunyang, have to pay tribute to the Valley of the Medicine Masters every year in exchange for protection. I've heard of the Valley of the Medicine Masters too. I heard that because of the protection of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, no Khanate stage adepts have come to Yunyang to cause trouble. The Valley of the Medicine Masters is the guardian angel of Yunyang. But who did you hear from that the first young master of the Hong family, Hong Yunfei, has entered the Valley of the Medicine Masters? I heard it from a drunk descendant of the Hong family. Hearing the discussion behind him, Hong Wei furrowed his brows. Whose mouth is so loose? However, in the blink of an eye, his brows relaxed again. Forget it, anyway, even if they don't know now, when Yunfei and Dandan return from the Valley of the Medicine Masters to visit their relatives, they will know. It's good that the news has spread. At the very least, the Zhao family of the county governor's estate will not dare to treat our Hong family as casually as before. As he thought about it, Hong Wei quickly returned to the Hong family mansion. Second brother, has anything happened in Yunfeng Prefecture recently? After returning to the Hong family residence and freshening up, Hong Wei called for his second brother, Hong Kuan. During the time he was away, he had left all the matters of the Hong family to his second brother to handle. Big brother, nothing much has happened in Yunfeng Prefecture recently, but that Zhou Donghuang is growing too fast. Hong Kuan's expression was still calm when he opened his mouth. However, as he spoke, his expression became a little grave. What do you mean? Hong Wei asked. A few months ago, someone came to Yunfeng Prefecture to ask about Zhou Donghuang. At that time, I did not think much of it. I just thought that Zhou Donghuang had made enemies outside, and the enemies were trying to take revenge on his family. But just a month ago, an important person from the Chu royal family came to Yunfeng Prefecture. He went directly to the Zhao family of the county governor's household. I heard from some people in the Zhao family that the important person from the Chu royal family was the commander of the city guards of the Chu royal city, Shui Meng, a petty consummation adept of the Qi gathering. As Hong Kuan spoke, his expression became more serious. If someone else were to ask about Zhou Donghuang's background, they could say that it was to take revenge on Zhou Donghuang's family. But is there a need for the Chu royal family to do that? Even if the Chu royal family wanted to do that, they could not possibly ask about Zhou Donghuang's background with such great fanfare, right? Although I do not know why, but that Zhou Donghuang, after leaving Yunfeng Prefecture for a year, was able to attract the attention of the Chu royal family, and even caused a petty consummation adept of the Chu royal family to come personally to Yunfeng Prefecture. I think he must be doing well outside. Hong Kuan voiced his own guess. Humph. However, after hearing Hong Kuan's words, Hong Wei snorted coldly and did not care about this. So what if he is doing well? Do you think he can compare to the Chu royal family? At most, he is only valued by the Chu royal family. Even if he really has the ability to compare to the Chu royal family, so what? In front of the second elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, not just the Chu royal family, even the imperial court of Yunyang is not worth mentioning. And my daughter-in-law, Chen Dandan, is the biological daughter of the second elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. The 16 countries of the East Valley, including the country of Yunyang, were situated in a complicated tangle of different directions, closely adjacent to each other. The Valley of the Medicine Masters was situated in the southwest of the 16 countries of the East Valley. It was a vast valley with many buildings and several roads leading out of the valley. On every road leading out of the valley, there was a majestic mountain gate that was more than 10 meters tall and 3 to 4 meters wide. On one side of the mountain gate stood a huge stone tablet that was 5 meters tall, on which the words, Valley of the Medicine Masters, were engraved in flamboyant calligraphy. Now, outside one of the mountain gates stood 3 people, and one person was lying on the ground. Chen Dandan, what is the meaning of this? Are you trying to burn the bridge after crossing it? The young man, whose face was covered in dirt and blood, stared at the young girl standing not far away with a look of dissatisfaction in his eyes. The young girl was dressed in a light blue dress, standing there gracefully. She still had a hint of childishness on her pretty face, which was enough to arouse the envy and jealousy of many young girls of her age. At this moment, the young girl was looking coldly at the severely injured young man lying on the ground. Her watery eyes were filled with a look of disgust. Hong Yunfei, burning the bridge after crossing it, you are not fit to say such things. The young girl laughed coldly. I have always found it strange that as the young master of a preeminent family, you would come all the way to this godforsaken Qingshan town to beat me up, as if I was the only woman left in the world. So you and your father already knew that my father was the second elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. You tried so hard to get close to me, and your father tried so hard to please me, all because he saw my father's background and power, and wanted to curry favor with my father. But I, Chen Dandan, am not so easy to use. Today, I am already being very kind by not killing you. You should just go back to Yunyang country and be the young master of a preeminent family. The Valley of the Medicine Masters is not a place where a lowly person like you can enter. From the conversation between the young girl and the young man on the ground, it was obvious that these two people were Chen Dandan and Hong Yunfei from the inferior Yunfeng prefecture of the western Chu ridge of Yunyang country. Hong Yunfei was the first young master of the preeminent Hong family of Yunfeng prefecture. As for Chen Dandan, she was originally the adopted daughter of the chairman of a small chamber of commerce in Qingshan town. After being pursued relentlessly by Hong Yunfei, she was overwhelmed by the favor and fell in love with him. In order to please Hong Yunfei and the Hong family, so that she could have a better life in the Hong family, she did not hesitate to betray her adoptive mother who had taken her in and treated her so well. She had thought that she had become a phoenix. She had never imagined that she was a phoenix, and a phoenix that could look down on the entire country of Yunyang at that. It's not just that useless Zhou Donghuang who is not worthy of me, even you, Hong Yunfei, are not worthy of me. Chen Dandan smiled disdainfully and turned to walk towards the gate of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Outside the gate, there were disciples of the Valley of the Medicine Masters standing guard. When they saw her, they bowed in unison. Miss Dandan. Seeing Chen Dandan enter the gate of the Valley of the Medicine Masters and disappear into the distance, Hong Yunfei struggled to stand up, wanting to chase after her. Bang! A loud sound rang out. It was one of the two young men who had been about to leave with Chen Dandan. He kicked Hong Yunfei to the ground and laughed coldly. Hong Yunfei, did you not hear what Sister Dandan said? You had better scram back to Yunyang country, or I will make sure you stay outside the gates of the Valley of the Medicine Masters forever. The young man laughed coldly, his eyes full of murderous intent. Hong Yunfei, I advise you to stop lusting after the flesh of a swan. Sister Dandan, even the princes of the imperial court of Yunyang are not worthy of her. How can a mere disciple of the preeminent family of Yunyang like you be able to? The other young man shook his head. Sister Dandan asked you to scram, and second elder has already kicked you out. Even if you do not wish to leave, you will never step into the Valley of the Medicine Masters again. What? Hong Yunfei's expression changed. Master, he kicked me out? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Hong Yunfei's eyes were filled with indignation. Do you think that with your talent in the martial Dao, the second elder would accept you under normal circumstances? Don't joke around. Second elder only accepted you as his disciple because you helped him find his daughter. Now, Sister Dandan does not want to see you and wants you to scram out of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. What reason do you think second elder has to keep you? Ridiculous. Hearing the disdainful words of the two disciples of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Hong Yunfei's face was full of regret. He punched the ground heavily, letting his fist drip with blood. Taking a deep breath, Hong Yunfei struggled to stand up. He looked longingly at the gate of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, then dragged his heavily injured body out. At this moment, his heart was filled with regret. The biggest mistake that I, Hong Yunfei, have made in my life was to bring that bitch Chen Dandan out of Qingshan town. I should have let her stay in Qingshan town forever, as a village woman. I regret it so much. I regret it so much. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.